Magandang umaga sa lahat. I'm Julia and welcome to Creative Talk, a roundtable on designing a creative economy. Right now, we're here at the Benilde Learning Commons to celebrate Philippine Creative Industries Month, together with Benilde's Hub of Innovation for Inclusion, or HIFI. Now, HIFI was built to help ideas grow into real projects and opportunities. And today is one of those opportunities. Sa totoo lang, ang saya makakita ng iba't ibang creative sa isang espasyo katulad nito. Kasi aminin nyo, minsan-minsan lang naman tayo magkausap unless there's a conference. And that's like so rare. So yeah, different fields, different stories, but the same passion for creating. And real talk lang, ano. For the longest time, I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, but people saw creativity really as just a hobby. Diba? Pero alam naman natin that creativity is definitely more than that. It can open doors, create jobs, build communities, and even push the economy forward. So, this roundtable is really for you, students, young creatives, dreamers. Maybe you're asking, may future ba ako rito? Tama ba tong pinasok ko? Like, what's gonna happen to me if I make it as a creative in the Philippines? How do I even start? So together with our invited guests, industry experts, we will explore these questions. And hopefully, at the end of the discussion, we hope that you'll walk away with fresh insights, practical advice, and maybe even the confidence to take your next step as a creative. So yun po yun. Let's give it light, open, and inspiring. Kwentuhan lang po tayo dito. Note, I know you're excited as I am, so let's welcome our guests from different creative industries. First up, he is the founder and co-owner of Purveyor, a champion of Filipino creativity and culture through media, events, design, and retail. He's mainly known for his creative work in publishing, photography, marketing, and creative direction. Let's give it up for Marvin Conanan. Welcome. Next up, we have a multidisciplinary creative leader with over 20 plus years of experience in broadcast, brand, and digital. He has scaled content to audiences of more than 100 million, led cross-regional rebrands, and worked closely with top executives to bring big ideas to life. Today, he is the head of brand partnerships at Tier 1 Entertainment, the home of world champions Blacklist International, and the only Southeast Asian organization selected for the first ever esports World Cup. Let's give it up for Dexter Ding. Welcome.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ayan. Our next guest has an incredible career spanning media, design, trade, and the performing arts. She was the longtime editor-in-chief of Preview magazine, later the executive director of Sitem, where she spearheaded digital transformation for trade shows and creative platforms. She's now preparing to relaunch Mabuhay magazine as co-editor-in-chief, while continuing to champion Filipino creativity across platforms. Let's give it up for Pauline Wan. Thank you so much for joining us today. To continue with our next guest, we have with us the Managing Director of Madman Creative Solutions, a youth-driven creative agency that's been reshaping the way brand narratives and culture connect. He's passionate about empowering the next generation of creatives and making sure that Filipino stories and perspectives are at the center of the work. Through Madman, he continues to prove that creativity can drive both business and nation building. Let's give it up for John Teodosio. Welcome po. So our next guest has played a huge role in shaping the Philippine contemporary art scene. She's a co-founder of Art Fair Philippines and Art in the Park, two major platforms that bring modern and contemporary art closer to the public. A former chair of Benilde's Arts Management Program and former academic advisor and faculty of Benilde's Creative Industries Management Program, she now directs the Benilde Center for Campus Exhibitions and was recently appointed Vice President of the Board of Trustees of Museo Pambata. So let's give it up for Dintin Araneta. Good morning. Our next creative happens to be the artistic director and co-founder of Para sa Sineng Collaboratory, a non-profit that builds collaborative platforms for artistic development and community engagement. She has worked with institutions like the CCP, DFA, UN Women, Goethe Institute, and many more. Maika is also a core organizer of the Philippine Producers Network and a founding member of Marasum, a Southeast Asia-wide network connecting emerging producers and artists. Currently, she's researching community-based creative practices in the Philippines with a passion for interdisciplinary and socially engaged work that makes meaningful impact. So let's all welcome Maika Pinto. Salamat po. Continuing on, we have with us a social entrepreneur who has been putting Filipino craftsmanship on the global stage. She's the founder of Risque Designs, a footwear brand that collaborates with local artisans and uplifts homegrown materials and skills. Beyond that, she co-founded several impact-driven startups, including one developing bio-based leather and another promoting urban transport through cycling. Let's all welcome Tal de Guzman. Hello. Okay. Our next guest is a professional singer, songwriter, and executive dedicated to supporting Filipino musicians. He's the executive director of Organisasyon ng mga Pilipinong Mang-aawit, where he protects the rights and welfare of singers and promote Filipino music. He also works with Philpop Music Fest Foundation, helping songwriters showcase their talents. Let's give it up for Gab Cabangon. Umaga. Up next is someone who thrives at the intersection of creativity and community. He's the manager of Escolta's Hub Make Lab, a pioneering creative hub inside the iconic First United building. Hub Make Lab is artist and maker-led, experimenting with art, cultural programming, and community activation while supporting creative sustainability. Let's all welcome Jodinand Aguilion. Salamat. And finally, to wrap up our roundtable guest list, we have with us a transdisciplinary performance maker, educator, and dramaturg with over 2 decades of experience in the performing arts. He's the founder of Taxi Theater and a senior artist teacher with BETA. He was a former chairperson of the Theater Arts Program in Benilde and an assistant professor in the Speech Communication and Theater Arts Department in UP Diliman. He has presented his practice and led collaborative workshops in platforms locally and globally. Let's give it up for my friend, Eric V. De La Cruz. We have with us a writer, art educator, and curator whose work highlights on amplifying and making visible marginalized, interdisciplinary, and socially engaged art practices and practitioners. She's an assistant professor at the Department of Theory. She also serves as the curator for the UP Fine Arts Gallery, or Parola, and leads the Gender and Development Committee. She's also been deeply involved with the concerned artists of the Philippines, advocating for artists and communities. Let's all welcome Lisa Ito Tapang.
Magandang hapon.
Salamat po.
Salamat, ma'am.
Up next on our list is a coach, choreographer, and creative consultant who's making waves both locally and internationally. He is the co-founder and director of the HQ Dance Collective, the team that brought home the gold medal at the 2023 World Hip Hop Dance Championship. He's also worked with dance companies here and abroad, including our very own St. Benilde Comanson Dance Company. Let's give it up for Coach Jacob Haurige.
Good afternoon.
Salamat po sa pagpunta. Okay. Our next guest is one of the Benilde faculty and a director and ITSO manager of the Benilde Center for Intellectual Property Management. She's a lawyer by profession with almost 2 decades of practice in corporate and business laws, regulatory compliance, and intellectual property. She is the managing director of Tejano Accounting and Law Office with offices in Davao and Manila, and one of the co-founders of AimHi, a local startup which developed the first AI-driven project management platform designed for the construction industry. How exciting! Maraming salamat po sa pagpunta, Attorney Janice Tejano. So our next guest happens to be a theater professional and arts manager who has been part of more than 20 major productions, including Waitress, Beautiful the Carole King musical, The Band's Visit, and Sweeney Todd in both Manila and Singapore. She has worked with some of the best in the industry like Lea Salonga, Menchu Lauchenko Yulo, and Rodi Vera. Today, she is the general manager of GMG Productions, handling international theatrical productions right here in the Philippines. Let's all give it up for Janine Martinez.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello. Our next guest is a cultural worker based in Metro Manila. She has written for publications on art and the practices of artists. Her exhibition and curatorial work have contributed to various projects locally and overseas. She's interested in art initiatives that center on research and writing and how these interface with the public. She's a consultant for an art collection and an arts management teacher at CSB. Mga kaibigan, si Miss Lara Aquin. Ayan, palakpakan po natin siya. Okay, up next, our guest is a venture builder, creative strategist, and researcher who has been making waves in the fashion and creative industries for over a decade. She co-founded the PHX Fashion Group and has also been deeply involved in policy work through the Philippine Fashion Coalition. She's also a Chevening Scholar and Salzburg Global Fellow, proving how creativity and advocacy can come together to make real impact. So, palakpakan po natin, Esme Palaganas.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay, and wrapping up our list, we have with us a true pioneer in lifestyle journalism. A true pioneer in lifestyle journalism and publishing here in the Philippines. She is the force behind Metro Magazine, ABS-CBN Publishing, and Inquirer Lifestyle, and has created iconic titles and events that shaped how we see lifestyle, fashion, and culture today. Now, she continues to lead conversations in the digital space through the diarist.ph. Palakpakan po natin, Thelma San Juan.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So that's it. So profiles pa lang and bio ng ating mga guests. Alam nyo na, nabigatan sa lahat mga industry expert pala talaga, no? So before we start, we have a warm-up round. Just to get, everybody in the game. It's just simple yes or no questions. So I'm gonna ask a question and then one by one, you'll answer yes or no, if you agree or you disagree. Now, if you really are compelled to provide an explanation, you may do so. Pero sana we make it brief lang so that we can discuss it more in depth later. Tsaka para mas nuanced yung conversation. Yan, maraming salamat. Thank you for joining us today. Impressive bio. I'm so lucky to be here with you. Maraming salamat po. But before we start, okay, we have so much in store for you right now, but let's get warmed up first. So some of you already know each other, right? Okay. So we have some yes or no questions to get everyone relaxed and think. So wala naman po tong pressure. I'm just gonna say the question and then you're just gonna answer it with a yes or no. But if you're really compelled to add an explanation, you may also do so. Kung kating-kati talaga. Okay lang. Okay. So, ready po ba ang lahat? Game? Game. Okay. No. Siguro, muna tayo? Left to right. Kasi mamaya right to left. Para fair. Okay. Pressure. I'm so sorry. Okay. First question. Have you ever collaborated with anybody in this roundtable discussion before?
Yes.
Sort of. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. No, sorry.
Sorry. Same po, sort of. Medyo.
Yes na yes.
Kinda yes.
Certainly, yes.
Yeah. Yes. So actually, I've worked with Attorney Janice on intellectual property, specifically on trademark concierge. So maybe we can talk about that later. So
Nice. Thank you.
So no, I haven't collaborated with anyone yet, but maybe in the future, yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, with the host, Ms. Julia Enriquez. Yeah, here in Office of Culture and Arts with St. Benilde Romansan. Yeah.
Salamat.
Yes, Lara is a classmate and several initiatives within the visual arts community.
Ang galing. Yes.
Yes, as mentioned by Esme.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Elisa nga. And I follow her work and her writing too.
Thank you.
Wala pa.
Thank you. It's also a yes for me. For those who answered sort of, would you care to explain kung bakit sort of?
Well, Micah, I've met because I did a training for CCP SciTem for performing arts groups. So I facilitated training for that. And then, kind of indirectly, but I know you probably don't know me, but I did Manila Fame before with SciTem. Yeah. And then, well, of course, Joe, not directly, but we just know each other in the industry.
Nice. So most of us have already collaborated with each other, and maybe for some of us who haven't, baka ito na yun. Ito na yung simula. Next question. O, di ba madali lang naman? Do you believe that inspiration can come from the most random places? Yes or no?
Yes, always.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very much, yes.
Yes.
100% yes.
Yes.
Absolutely yes.
Syempre, yes.
Yes po.
Yeah, yes. It's a yes for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Definitely yes.
Yes.
Yes! Okay, so as creatives, I think wala naman sa amin ang sasagot ng no dito sa tanong na ito. Okay, for the next question, would you agree that young creatives now, today, have more platforms to showcase their work? Do you think that they have more platforms to showcase their work?
Yes, but maybe still not enough.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, with more challenges.
Yes, we didn't have this many before.
Yes, pero hindi pantay-pantay.
Yes, very challenging platforms, too many.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yes.
Super yes.
Super yes.
Yes, but with a question mark.
Why the question mark? I'm very interested with your answer.
I think it's easy to say that there are a lot of options. There's this democratization of avenues for them to showcase their work, but there's also the noise. And I think despite the availability of those options, the question is whether or not you are really able to showcase your work and cut through the noise and still remain sincere and not, rely on tactics or strategies just to make your work popular. So yes and no. So in that sense.
Thank you. That's very insightful and nuanced. So I think we'll have time later to discuss that kasi it can also be part of our discussion on our shared struggles and challenges. Thank you, Eric, for that. Thank you. Alam nyo, these questions kasi yes or no, pero kasi kailangan din talaga ng nuancing nung iba. So mamaya, we'll discuss that later. Okay, next. The next question. Would you say that the Philippine creative industry, not just your industry but the whole creative community, is currently in a good place?
That's a loaded question. I'm gonna say yes because it's the morning and I'm optimistic.
Thanks, Jody. How about you, Tal?
It's an evolving yes.
I love that.
Yeah, yes, because at least now we can really say that we have industry. Speaking, of course, from the visual arts perspective. Yeah.
Great, nice.
Am I optimistic or pessimistic? If the glass is half empty, diba? No, I guess
the answer depends on what side of the bed I wake up in the morning. It's a nascent because we've just, passed the act and all. So there's so many ways to look at it. The optimistic way is yes, because obviously there's so much opportunity out there. But no, because also we're not ready. Because we're at the, everybody's just beginning. But having said that, there's so much opportunity.
Yeah, so it's a yes and no. Thank you, Pauline.
Yeah,
Marvin.
for me, I think it's yes, better. Maybe not good, but it's better.
Getting there. Okay.
Yes, just because I know where I came from, and so where I am right now, it's huge difference. So yeah, because of opportunity, definitely. So yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, in contrast naman, I'm relatively young in the industry. So I'm kind of optimistic. So I'm going to say yes, but at the same time, the longer you stay in the creative industry, the more you realize na baka that yes isn't really a yes. So yeah, we're kind of getting there.
How about you, Micah?
Copy-paste sa mga sinabi ng lahat. But we're in an exciting place, and this morning, this is a good place to actually talk about it. And yeah, so because of that, we're in a good place.
Thank you.
I think ako'y maging kontrabida. I would say I can only speak for the music industry. I would say that there is some improvement, but could be better.
Thank you for your honesty. How about you, Eric?
I'm just hoping na maging contagious yung pagiging positive ni Jody. But I agree. It's weird because I would agree with Marvin. It's better, but I won't say it's good. That's kind of weird because I feel that when you say it's good, there's a certain level of everything's satisfaction, and it's getting better. So yeah.
Yes, because you now have a creative industry. No, because there is hardly any infrastructure, just like other countries, like Korea, to support and push that creative industry. So, in a way, I feel for my kids.
Thank you. Always thinking about the next generation. Ang galing. Opo. Salamat.
Baka yes and no din. Kailangan natin i-qualify din yung good place. Yun na muna.
Salamat. Oo nga. Ano nga ba ang qualifier noon? Attorney Janice.
I would say yes, because now there's a legal framework for the creative industry. That's a good start compared to none in the past. So I would say yes.
Salamat.
Same, yes or no? Yes and no. Yes and no. Kasi there are developments, but at the same time, many of the workers in the creative industry, cultural workers and arts workers, face so many challenges as a result of, or even before that.
Same with me, yes and no. Mainly because of progress throughout the years. But again, I highly agree with the infrastructure, with it being, not being, again, good place. What is good place? So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I guess yes and no as well. Yes, that we're more thriving now, but there's still room for growth, especially in the policies and guidelines, as well as the infrastructure. So that's both yes and no for me.
Thank you.
Yes, because I'm an optimist, but also I do think there's systems that is still lacking. But the fact that the government is already acknowledging the industry as a possible economic driver, even though it's just a dent now, we're in a good place, but it can be greater. So yeah,
That's true. So it's a yes for us. We're hopeful, but we can still improve it. Diba? Sige. And for the last warm-up question, do you think that creative industries should uphold inclusion as a core value and make room for greater inclusivity? Should creative industries daw po ba be more inclusive? Should that be a core value? Especially that this talk is actually being sponsored by Benilde HIFI, the Hub of Innovation for Inclusion.
I think inclusivity is such a wide word. So is it in disabilities? Is it in regions, urban or rural? So maybe I'll just focus on urban and rural. So I do believe like the creative industries is not yet inclusive, mainly because it's all Manila-centric, because we all know the market for the creative industries is in the big cities. So I do think there's a need, especially on more the rural areas. Yeah.
Tama. Yeah, just yes, an answer to yes.
Thank you.
Same with me. Yes, just in general, inclusivity just enhances the avenues and the opportunities where we can grow. So yeah.
Salamat.
Yes, especially if you mean by inclusivity, equity, access, and representation.
Yan po. Salamat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, mahalaga yan.
A strong yes.
Thank you for your openness, your honesty, and I agree. Ang hirap naman kasing sagutin din ng tanong na to with a simple yes or no. Of course, there's so many factors to consider. Kung ano yung factors na yon, we will discuss that later. And for our last question, okay, last for the warm-up round pa lang. Do you believe, gutom na po ba? Lunchtime. Okay. Do you believe that the Philippines has the talent to build a strong creative economy in the next decade? Wow. Next decade meaning 2036. Okay. Do you think that we have the talent to build a strong creative economy? We're talking about the talent of the creatives, no? Okay. Sige. Pag ganito naman, yes or no?
Yes, yes.
In music, yeah, there's no shortage of talent.
Yes, we're an archipelago and a nation with strong artistic talent, but it's not just the creative talent. So.
Yes, and I agree. Talent, no shortage of it. But, you know, when you say build a creative economy, it's a lot more than talent. That's where values and principles come into play, missions come into play. So I feel like that needs more maturity. But if we talk about, like talent lang, panalo Pinoy dun, pare. So if it's talent, Filipinos are champions.
For me, talent, yes, obviously, coming from that industry. But I think really we're always on the back end. We're always like the support team. We're always make things better. We're never up front. We're always behind, right? And so I agree that it starts with, we have great talent. I've seen it. But also for us to be strong enough and have the support enough to put us in the front lines, I think spells the whole difference. So yeah.
Yeah, talent, yes. Simple.
I think the operative word in this question is the creative economy. So if you're talking about talent as a creative, there is no doubt the Filipino is super talented. Regardless what industry you're talking, all the industries we represent, we're A+, right? Now, the flip side of that is obviously the economy, which is the industry. And I feel that this is the place where we could all have a crash course, we could all learn, especially when you're talking about scale. That's what I think Filipino creatives are sorely lacking in, is the business smarts to be able to launch themselves, sustain that launch, scale, go global. So yun yung kailangan. I mean, specifically talking about my experience inside them, working with the different creative industries. That was my number one problem when I was there. It's really at the heart of everything, the creative and the product that we were trying to market to the world at that point.
Thank you so much for bringing that up.
I would say yes. I've also been working in an art and design school for the past 13 years, so definitely there's a lot of talent. My challenge as a teacher has always been how to help the students find work after they graduate. Diba? Because it's always like, Miss, what am I gonna do? Where can I go? So that it's always that. So maybe it's also finding, like what you have said and what you have said, creating the platforms where the students can go after. So that's why when you mentioned the question mark, because you also have to help them sustain their livelihood, right? Yeah.
It's great that as educators, we are thinking about that also. Thank you.
So for me, for the talents, it's an oh my gosh, yes. But for the infrastructure and the support, similar to Ms. Pauline, it's an oh my, sana more. Because we really need, I think, the talents themselves, they magaling, but we need a lot more than that. It's a multidisciplinary approach needed to be able to build. So the keyword there is build. A really strong economy.
I believe, echoing many of the folks here, yes, talent in the Philippines being a natural resource. And then I guess the word that's jumping out to me is build and next decade. Can we build it within the next decade? But more importantly, can we build it to last another decade beyond that, right? So the sustainability and longevity to support the talent that is here. So yes.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. No, but it's really about, being able to sustain it. It's not just about building the economy, but also knowing if it will last and also if it will, cater to more younger creatives in the future. Okay. Last question. Ito, yes or no na lang daw. Sabi ni Direk, wala na daw. Ano? Sabi ko sa'yo, madaldal kami. Okay. Last question. Do you think schools and hubs like HIFI, their office, can play a key role in shaping the future creative economy? Wala sa aming pressure. Nasa inyo ang pressure ngayon sa tanong na to. Okay. So is it a yes or a no?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And later we'll discuss in detail how you can actually support the creative industries. Okay, sige. Okay, that's it for the warm-up round. Thank you so much for your openness. Warm-up pa lang yan, pero nakita nyo naman na insightful na siya. So now, we will dive in a little deeper and hear the personal stories and journeys of our creatives. Because as we've said earlier, there are so many students who are watching us right now and they're asking themselves, maybe they're even overwhelmed at this point because they're maybe graduating. Paano ba magsisimula? Saan ba magsisimula? So please tell us a bit about yourself and how you found your way into the creative industry. So yes.
Okay. I think how I found my way in, I don't think it was the term was coined yet. I'm not sure, or that I knew what the term creative industry was. But I can go back as far as my parents paying for a box of crayons, my first Lego blocks, as far as exercising and getting that kind of creativity going, to volunteering as front of house for an independent theater org. So it really is kind of, I feel like we kind of are all part of it somehow. How we contribute to it or how we kind of find our niche, I think that comes with experience.
Thank you, Jyoti. And it's so nice that your parents supported you by buying that box of crayons.
Oh yeah, I used it as makeup.
Yeah! That started it all. Sige, take us to your roots.
So I think I would like to attribute my beginnings in fashion generally because I got interested, while I was in fashion school, I got interested in local weaves. I didn't have a province when I grew up. I grew up without knowing a province because I'm from Manila lang. Tapos, I really loved the local textiles, and it was at the time that it wasn't really appreciated yet. And before, parang ngayon, there's really a lot of events already that support that. But then when I realized, because of that, napunta ako sa footwear. Kasi parang that time wala pang nag-explore masyado of the local weaves for shoes. And I realized I picked one of the hardest paths in fashion because but I chose it also because it was hard. I got inspired that daredevil, but because I knew it was hard for me, so I was thinking to myself, how do I make this easier for the next generation to come in? Because I had such a hard time coming into the industry. The barriers to entry were so many. Even just simple things like terminologies in Filipino shoemaking. That's why right now I'm doing a book about that. Things like knowing suppliers before Google. It was so hard. You have to like knock on doors of shoemakers which are not in one street. So it was that really got me. What got me was because it's hard, and because I feel like there's a lot of room for it to be explored and find the space. Really find the space to be collaborative.
I'm glad you found that space. Thank you.
How did I get started? I am a graduate of the UP Humanities program, which is actually now the Art Studies program. At the time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do career-wise. And in fact, I asked one of my teachers, and she goes, "Why don't you teach?" And I was like, "What? I'm going to teach?" So, well, at the time, of course. And then I had the chance to visit some museums. And I decided that was going to be my career path. I really wanted to work for a museum. Now, the thing is, when my parents found out, my dad especially, he goes, "Why do you want to work for a museum? What's wrong with you? Are you a dilettante?" He actually used that word. I can remember it very clearly because you have to be able to earn an income from your job. He goes, "Why didn't you become an architect? Why didn't you become a graphic designer? Why do you want to work for a museum?" So I did. I worked for Ayala Museum. That was my first job. And then, well, this was 30 years ago. What is in my mind now is that I have to be able to sustain my career as a creative person. So that whether that's working in a museum, teaching in a school, co-founding an art fair, it's all part and parcel of what I need to do just to be able to say, okay, I've made something of my career. Because I love what I do. I've always been able to make decisions intuitively about where to move next, how to move forward. So I've been very lucky in that sense. I've also had some very, very good mentors who have guided me over the years. So that makes a big difference. In fact, I tell a lot of the younger people who I work with now, if your boss is not going to help you, then you might as well find a new job because your boss is also there to guide you. No? You're supposed to, he or she's supposed to find ways to help you improve your life. Yeah, so I've been lucky in that sense. Yeah. Thank you.
That's really nice. And also the fact that you've mentioned mentors, malaking bagay po talaga that you have generous and kind mentors as a creative.
I feel like, my gosh, looking back, this question, I feel like in high school, I was sitting in our multi-purpose hall for an alternative class program. And the question of, can you be, dati hindi pa creative, an artist? And, make money and make a career out of it. And we had Marilu Diaz-Abaya who was a film director, and she was one of the speakers, and said, absolutely, you can be, you can be creative, you can have a career in the arts. But I wasn't going to be a director. So my path towards, in college, I did theater, decided I'm not going to pursue theater because how am I going to make money? So, I'm sorry.
Attacked.
No.
Kidding.
This is just my journey. And then I said, nope, I didn't know how I would make money. So then I said, so it was all a process of elimination. I said, maybe I'll try advertising. Did that for a couple of months on the production side. Not cut out to say yes to brands. So tried another. Sorry, Ayoko na. Alis na.
Okay lang. This is a safe space where we can learn from one another.
So, eventually, I ended up taking a master's degree in media and communications and then going into broadcasting. Did that for 3 years at Pro Productions. And then I said, how am I going to make money? Right? Because at the end of the day, it's as a creative and you want the lifestyle, right? Diba? Yung lifestyle, magkakahiyaan pa ba tayo rito? But, so, and then I said to myself, okay, I'm going to do, put up a salon. So we did a nail spa, I got partners. And then, so I had to quit Pro for that, but I thought that I would eventually go back into broadcasting. I did the nail spa, and then I said, how am I going to market this nail spa? So I said, oh, let me just work for a magazine for a while to make the connections in media, right? I did that, and I got stuck there for 15 years, editing preview. So it was the time of my life. It was the boom of the magazines here in the Philippines. It was, I looked at it as a creative platform, being able to push Filipino creatives. That was also the time when the term creative industry really came out of the UK. And SITEM at that point, we were already talking to Ria Matute, who's now Executive Director of Design Center. And we were already talking about, working within the creative industry. So that became our mantra of sorts, is to really push Filipino creatives. So we were working illustrators, makeup artists, models, so on and so forth, advertising agencies, so on and so forth. And then I retired. Dawn of digital. I didn't want to work for the algorithm. Dami kong arte, sorry. I didn't want to work for the algorithm, so I retired. Said, okay. And then I came back as executive director of SITEM, thinking that, okay, as career as an editor, what can I do next? And I thought, I think I wasn't so much a fashion person as I found that my mission was being able to tell stories, and the platform would be stories about creatives and the products that we produce, which sort of paralleled my magazine career. So we did trade shows, built digital platforms, and then after that, one administration retired again. So kala ko wala na, diba? It was a road to retirement. But right now, we accepted or we bid for the opportunity to produce Mabuhay magazine. So magazines are dead in the way that we used to know them, but this is a captured market. So I said, okay, fine, let's do this. But we look at it, a reinvented Mabuhay magazine for us will be another platform to be able to showcase Filipino creatives, which we feel is really the heart, tagline ng PAL, sorry, the heart of the Filipino. But sincerely, this is really what we feel. If you're riding an airplane, you need to see. So between that, that's why suddenly we came back, because we also really wanted to build another avenue for creatives to be able to, and shine the light to a global audience for Philippine creatives.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so exciting. Ay, sige, Eric, you have something to say?
No, I'm just curious what happened to the nail spa.
It's still there. We have 5 branches.
See, to the young creatives who are watching, you don't have to stick to just one path. It doesn't have to be linear all the time. You want to succeed, you can actually explore different platforms, different industries. And also, mas marami kayong matututunan if you will collaborate with a lot of people in the community. Thank you.
So first found, I guess I'll go back rin. I think 3 things, like my love for brands. I remember just drawing logos ng Nike, logos ng Adidas when I was a kid. And then next is my love of entrepreneurship. I think, and then lastly is street culture and streetwear. Those 3, I think, pushed me to make Purveyor eventually and be able to understand like the inner workings of the creative industry through that lens. Yeah, I'll just keep it simple. Marami namin dito. So it's just those three that made me start Purveyor, made me become part of the creative industry of the Philippines.
Salamat, Marvin.
Thank you.
So I guess just like Marvin, I drew logos of basketball teams because there was just our only option back then. Basketball teams and old logos of all these things. And so that's how I started. And so I didn't know there's this software, Corel 2. Oops. Way back. And graphic design wasn't a major in school. It was a minor in fine arts class. And so I took up economics, so it's super weird. And so, yeah, it's just, I started as a graphic designer, and when we say multidisciplinary, I just built it up there because we didn't have inspiration back then. We didn't have the YouTubes. We had Preview Men. Super tagal na. Intermittently, and we looked at the magazines before. I just got inspiration from that. So from magazines, Here's the Season for sure, and so I just like, I guess because I'm the middle child, you get less. All right, you know, you have the brother who does everything, gets all the first experience, and you have the youngest sister who's like, oh, the apple of your father's eye and all that. And so I just had to weave my way through, and so and that really just taught me how to grind it out and find a path wherein, you know, you need to make money. And I agree. Like when my parents asked me what you want to do, and I said, I think I'll do graphic design for a while. But you have an economics career. And I said, yeah, we'll finish that. But wala lang, it just felt so easy doing design. Like yung tarpaulin na pinipinturahan. No, actually walang tarp. Tela lang yun na pinipinturahan and all that. I started with Adobe pa na Photoshop. Let's not mention the number. But that just really just got inspired about a lot of things and eventually got there. But really what changed my life is when you guys mentioned about mentorship. So worked for an agency when I was back home in Cebu, moved here to Manila, and let's not go into details, but in the short form of that, I got heartbroken, but I stayed. And so eventually I stayed and I worked for church. I worked for Victory. And I was like the first creative job there. And so I was so honored to be mentored by pastors who became friends, who just really mentored me. And so that I enjoyed really training volunteers. And so if there's anything to be proud of for me, I think I was able to mobilize 300 volunteers, do creative work for church, which was unheard of. Like church should be bland. And so we did graphics, we did video, we did everything. We stage design, production design, etc., etc., etc. And the workforce was free. And so to be able to motivate them and to be able to like, obviously you'll say this is for the Lord. but to inspire volunteers to see something like, oy, pwede pala. And you get to do a lot of things and you get to like, you know, push the boundaries in terms of what church is able to do to inspire people to come to church. And so that for me is really where I stuck to it. And eventually I got back to like the industry because I felt my time in church was done. And so yeah, if it's really a little bit about myself, really talagang went through everything. As a graphic designer, we're in, you know, when you tell people what's your job and I say graphic designer, and they look at you and what's that? Totally from school when it was not an option, to putting yourself into a situation wherein did not experience creativity before, like a church, which was just super, like you go to a Christian church now, to a Christian church before, totally different. Wala pa yung mga, I hate to say it, acetate were the songs. So now may PowerPoint na and all that. So I guess that's really it. That's how I just really build on. Then eventually, what I've learned working for church for 8 years, I brought it to the industry. And so the goal is to be like salt and light to that, and just be able to inspire the next generation. And so really, at the end of the day, mentorship. So I'm very grateful for that. So I hope it made sense. So.
You did po. Thank you so much. Okay.
Since we're going to connect with the students, I actually decided to pursue theater in college. So, from LaSalle ako, so walang theater courses there, so nag-org ako, which is Harlequin. Medyo major in org ako instead of my major, but it's okay kasi liberal arts yun naman yung course ko. So, in Harlequin, we were encouraged to be more out there, more parang manood pa ng shows, interact with other organizations outside na theater, not just inside, na hindi lang kami inward looking talaga. And then with that, parang maraming opportunities na for the students back then, which is workshops. And maganda rin, like back in 2014, there were like stage management workshops na in-offer yung CCP. So I took that. That was stage management workshop ni Sir Ed Murillo. So I met him, and then siya rin yung nag-open ng doors sa akin sa industry. So he was the one who I always like. May mga mentors na I got to message sa siya yun na, may opening ba right now after I graduate, na may opening ba, I want to either intern or OJT, and then siya yung nagsabi na, there's openings here right now, and kahit man it's with him or without him. So I guess the pinaka yung nag-open ng door talaga sa akin sa creative industry is those mentors. I have Sir Rafi Tejada and Sir Ed Murillo, who may mga mentors lang ako nalalapitan, and they're the ones who told me na, may mga ganitong opportunities. And now, I'm here na with different companies na I've been working with different companies. So, yun.
Thank you for sharing that. So now we see the value of the school-based art groups talaga, no? And having mentors who are very kind and generous. Yeah. Yes, Esme.
Yeah, so here I start. So I started when I was still in high school, mainly because I was fashion blogging then in Tumblr. And then a friend of mine was interning for Philippine Fashion Week, and then said, parang interesado, pwede ka mag-interesado dito. So I became an intern for Philippine Fashion Week, even before coming into Benilde. So I'm actually a fashion design graduate in Benilde. So I started that whole journey, 4th year high school, and then carried over my internship for the rest of my college years. So I really learned a lot just through internship. And it's always important, I say, to find connections outside of school. And that kind of carried over as I went through my own business. I think incubation programs also is a key thing, because right after my graduation collection here in Benilde, my stuff got picked up. I was intending to go for a full-time job. But an incubation space in Green Sun Hotel in Makati actually invited me for a 3-month stint. Try ko lang before ako ulit mag-send ng CV. And the 3-month kind of extended to 7 years of doing a business, from ready-to-wear to made-to-order gowns to doing uniforms for UCC and F&B companies in the Philippines. And then I think after incubation spaces like that, mentors is really like a key thing, like she mentioned earlier. Our chairperson for fashion then was Lulu Tangan here in Benilde. So she really learned, I asked a lot of questions. I think asking a lot of questions is essential. So she opened doors for me. Eventually, I got invited for the Fashion Design Council of the Philippines, which is a organization here. Tried for that. And because I'm part of that, Philippine Fashion Coalition was kind of a national coalition of fashion councils. And Amina Arenas Alunan, who was the president of FDCP, invited me to become a board of advisor for that coalition. So I think it's finding the threads that connect. But I think it all starts with exposing yourself outside of school, because those are the people you're gonna meet after you graduate. So I do think that's like essential there.
Thank you so much. Okay, how about the others? Yan po.
Okay, so maybe
Attorney
I'll
Janice.
share a bit. So when I joined Benilde, almost 15 years ago. IP was not yet a thing here. So when I joined as faculty, actually, as faculty for our School of Management and Information Technology, wherein my home program is HR, I had a chance to discuss with the then brother president and the chancellor. So I think it was just, casual discussions, and I was invited to be part of some projects. And I started to ask, well, out of curiosity, I asked, I said, so Benilde is very creative because I've seen all the projects along the hallways, and it's hanged everywhere. So I told the brother president back then, brother, so how are you protecting the IP of the students and faculty and associates? And that's how the job started. Because they said, well, you know what? Actually, we're just thinking about that, and we need a person for that. So I was like, maybe I was asking the wrong questions because now the big work has to be done. But that's really how it started. And of course, we had to start with a policy. So the Benilde Intellectual Property Rights Policy was crafted. We formed a team, and we started to preach IP in the different programs. Getting influencers from amongst academics, program chairpersons, and deans. Of course, I think at that time, IP was already at the back of their minds, but it needed some push for it to really be ingrained in the system. So that's really where we started, and 10 years after, we're already very active. I would say that in most of the academic programs, especially here in the Arts and Design campus, and even in the other schools, in SMIT, we collaborate with the programs. Now, teachers contact us, connect with us, and say, Attorney Janice, I think you need to talk to our students because they're doing a project with this company and there's IP that's going to be created, who owns the IP, etc., etc. Or, Attorney Janice, we have another student who's being offered to, So I think the awareness has really magnified, and we're so happy with that because that tells us that our work is, is paying off. The awareness is very strong now compared to when we started. And really, it's, I would say, just, being here at Benilde, it's just a creative universe. So it's really what's happening here that's brought me also into this kind of work. So just picking up all the art and all the inspiration, all the creative things that students are doing, and just going into that.
Thank you. Ang joke nga namin dito, sobrang nakakabata mag-work sa Benilde actually because of that kind of energy. And maybe we can discuss that more in detail later, pero ang IP ay very important po yan, protection po natin yan bilang mga artist, bilang creative. Ayun. How about the others po? Kwentuhan niyo naman kami ng inyong origin story.
All right. So I started with like any other kid, sports akong una. I started with sports. But on a random summer, parang my parents decided to let me try dance. So I did summer workshops. If you know Maneuvers, yeah, they're a 90s group, yeah, Maneuvers. Then I started doing workshops with them. Yes. So my workshops started with Maneuvers. Then in high school, I joined my team in LaSalle Air Force. Then I agree na same ako here in Benilde in college. I was more majoring in org than I was in game design. I was in game design, but I joined a lot of outside teams too, like immersing myself in the community, like within the different teams, within the different sides of dance, and I think I want with what I want to say is answering the question of like, how did you get into the path of this career path? I think even for the longest time I was in denial if I was in this path. For the longest time, like I was coaching at a young age. Like when I was here in Benilde, I was also coaching in different colleges in Ateneo, in other orgs for the inter-org, stuff like that. But even then, I was in denial if this was the career path for me, because I would do my course and I would still coach on the side. I would do this. I think only recently, when I was able to fully give myself a chance, was I able to really accept that this was the career path for me. Because even here in dance, it's like for a career path, it's a road less traveled. But even in dance, I took a lesser traveled road. Because a lot of people in dance who do the industry, nandun yung pera sa industry, where they do shows, where they do choreography classes, mga ganyan. What I truly like the most is coaching. So I like coaching teams, doing shows, doing performances, mga ganyan. So that was an even a lesser traveled road. So only recently, when I told myself that I was gonna fully pursue this, and then we were able to, we did competitions. We competed sa Arizona, where we won the championship, and then that's where it like poured in. And so a lot of like where I'm consulting right now in different countries like Portugal, Australia, but also a lot of like where I really wanna do work is like a lot of schools here locally, like some high schools and colleges where I'm consulting and starting to coach. I can't announce yet kasi mag-start pa lang eh. Pero coaching also. So yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you've already said. Is like immersing yourself in the outside of school. And yeah, I think now it's more clear to me with this path that it's what I really want to do. Yeah.
Salamat. And it's a full circle moment from being a student artist to being a coach.
Yes.
Okay. Sige. Anyone po? Yes.
Well, I'm very happy to tell you that the diaries uses Benilde students, filmmakers. Our filmmakers are from Benilde and LaSalle. But siguro, how do I summarize? I can go ahead kasi baka makalimutan ko yung sasabihin ko. But anyway, how do I summarize more than 40 years of struggle and success and defeats? Well, first, I like to tell you that know your passion. No passion is ever wrong. Even when you're 15 years old or younger, and no interest is ever too small or minor for you to ignore. Your parents can ignore your passion and your interest, but don't let that dissuade you. Why? Because I started in school. Ever since I was in high school and college, I knew I wanted to be a journalist. So even in college, I gave up being on the dean's list because I had to cut classes because I wanted to cover events. And it got so bad that when there were rallies and so on, the college paper was supposed to come out only once a quarter. But since we were protesting at St. Teresa's, I worked full-time to make the newspaper, one-page newspaper, come out every day, to the point that even our Lasallian counterparts were so surprised. And we ran, my first lesson, we ran excerpts from the famous work of Edgar Snow, an author that you might not know about, so what we did is we ran it, okay? So this is for your IP. So months later, our nuns got a letter from Edgar Snow threatening to sue our school because why did you run it without permission? But when he learned that we were really students, of course, his publisher forgave us. So one lesson is there's such a thing pala as copyright and plagiarism, Okay, so second lesson, when I was an intern, I wanted to join TV news. I was so lucky that our teachers then were not named yet, but they were like Lino Broca and of film, and also Bibsi Carballo, who were right in the mainstream of, they were starting. So they sent me to the Channel 5 if you want to cover. So anyway, so I went with the cameraman and then inassign ako sa sunog. You could imagine naka-uniforme, nagko-cover ng sunog. So the first thing I did was I went to the victims, and as they were logging, you know, nagbubuhat ng mga staff nila, nagtatanong ako, bakit ho nagkasunog, ganun-ganon. So when I got to the station, needless to say, I was scolded by the news director because parang ang tanga-tanga mo, bakit mo iistorbohin yung mga nasusunugan just so you could get, so second lesson, okay. Anyway, fast forward to when I was already a rookie reporter or editor in the newspaper, I ran the story of an essay of somebody who lived in an African country. And she wrote that the water was so bad that they almost grew scales. Okay? So I let it run. Siyempre, wala akong alam. Hindi ako nag-edit. And the next day, there was the delegation from that African embassy asking our editor-in-chief why they should not file a diplomatic protest against the Philippines for that article. So needless to say, I really begged for my job because you see, you know, parang why would you? What I'm telling you guys is that mistakes will be your crowning glory. You will learn from them. You will get so traumatized that, you know, you will carry it in your lifetime. So that is what will be your key to success. And when we were putting up the magazines of the country, I was asked by Mr. Lopez of ABS, what is your motive for doing this? And I told him, sir, revenge. Why revenge? Because you closed our Manila Chronicle, we lost jobs. So I want to prove that we could raise enough revenues, advertising revenues, and enough readership for the magazines to survive. And I'm kind of happy that up to now there is still Metro, if not the print, but you know, there's the title. But people hardly knew that we worked day and night just so we could get ads and when we could get scoops, because we didn't want the publication to close on us. The pain, the biggest pain that a creator could feel is for your creation to close down on you, okay? But if that happens to you, you just give it, let's say, a good cry and then get up. That is something that I have learned from my career, because in Inquirer, they say print is dying, free TV is dying in ABS. Sorry, are you gonna carry this? But anyway, so that gave me the incentive, that death or fight for survival gave me the incentive to see digital, a new space. So you always look for your space, your own space.
Galing, amazing. Thank you for sharing these stories, these glorious mistakes, which we can all learn from.
It's a book. It could be a
Yeah. Sabihin niyo po, pag lumabas yung book, I would be the first one to read it. Si Ma'am Lara naman po.
Okay. Paano makapasok yung mga estudyante? Maging interesado sa maraming bagay, maging bukas ang pag-iisip, kahit seryosohin ang lahat ng proyekto o trabaho, kahit ano pa yon, maliit, malaki, kahit para kanino, kung nakipagkasundo ka sa isang tao na may transaction kayo, follow through, mga ganun, mga basic nang naman. Pero siguro, in general, as a student, mahalaga din ngayong marami ka talagang interesado ka. Alamin mo yung mga pangalan nila, alamin mo yung mga pangalan ng mga sinusundan mong artist, or filmmaker, or writer, or even publisher, or editor, sundan mo sila. Ayun, palagay ko dun, magsipag ka rin magbasa at mag-research kasi maraming creatives nga everyday na binibinyagan everyday. So, pero marami din nung nakaraan, so mahalaga din alamin sila. Yun.
Maraming salamat.
Yung story, where it started.
Yes po.
For me, it began at home, and of course in school and in one's communities. Kasi one of my earliest memories growing up was of my dad leaving lots of blank paper, yung mga newsprint around for me to draw or write or do whatever I wanted to. So that was something very simple. But I think, looking back, that was such a powerful action or gesture on his part because it signaled to me, maybe now, na do what you want to do, explore. Even if it's a blank piece, write your own stuff there. So having a supportive family environment and all in high school and in college as well was a big difference in choosing to go to the path of art. In high school, we had teachers who were very supportive. They would quietly encourage us to write, to create, and that made a big difference. By the end of high school, I wanted to do 5 things: be a journalist, artist, veterinarian, nun, or there was another thing, political scientist. And I ended up enrolling in the Fine Arts Art History program at Diliman because it somehow combined a little bit of all of these. In college, malaking bagay yung nabanggit nila na going out of your comfort zone and reaching out to organizations in my communities. That made a huge difference. I joined the school paper early on, so that was the Philippine Collegian, and you had to release issues every week on top of your academics. So it was difficult to balance a lot of those things, but we learned so much in the process. And there were many life lessons that we learned personally from being in a school paper, which was quite active, maybe even or trying to also emulate and do the same work that the national dailies were doing. So I had many life experiences just because of being in that. Having teachers rin in school, in college, who were very supportive and who would include us in their projects, their research, and encourage us. No? Even if we did not always agree, they would still be there. That was a big factor din. I had professors such as, I always mention his name, Sir Robert Polino, who introduced me when I was still a student to an art gallery run by Norma Lyongoren at that time. So it was the start of many other chances to write for galleries who coincidentally or not, were run by women. So that inspired me. And even when I went into NGO work afterwards, almost a decade, I would still continue to write freelance and write about the visual arts in particular, and always try to connect that advocacy to things I learned in school, kasi I feel school taught us to channel creativity with commitment. Then, ayun, so it was through that I later on found myself back in school, teaching first art criticism, then the subjects that we continue to teach now at the department. So that was 12 years ago, and time just flew by so fast. So it means I'm enjoying. Ayun.
Yeah, so my entrance, gumanon. My siguro awakening in the creative, yung better word, in the creative scene is malaking part yung generation ko. So hindi po Gen Z eh. Di ako papayag tawagin yung sarili kong Gen Z. I'm a zillennial. So ano kami, gitna kami. Parang kumbaga kami nag-bridge. I was born year 2000. So, nung time na I was a kid, TV was still a thing. So medyo inabutan ko pa siya. But at the same time, you get 1 to 2 hours on Facebook. So not like now na unlimited talaga on your phone, right? So when I was a kid, I was on TV most of the time. You get 1 to 2 hours online. And that's what made me the creative that I am. So you still get like the traditional, kung paano yung structure ng traditional media. But at the same time, I got the 9gag era, you know, medyo natives kami ng 9gag, but yun. So, when I felt like, nung may age na ako na I needed to earn money, parang kailangan ko na kumita ng pera, I went into the creative industry without any principles. All I know was that when you want to make money in the creatives, you work with brands. Parang that's a very basic notion as a kid or as a teenager. So you work with brands, and then you try to work with bigger brands. You know, start with startups, MSMEs, and then you transition conglomerates. Wow. So that's what I did. But the thing is, now, I realized that the world is not that pretty. So that's the reason why I stayed. You know, I went in without any principle, just wanted to make money, mapatunayan sa nanay ko na okay lang maging creative ako. You know, I was a writer at that time. So, but now that I'm here, and you know, in our company, our tagline is a creative agency run by kids. Because literally, we're run by kids. Our average age is 23. So 85% of our team members came from CSB. Fresh grads. We don't have tenured team members. Siguro, just a handful in our management. But yeah, the reason why I'm telling that is, that's why I stayed. When I realized that, you know, when you're here, it's easy to get lost in why you actually do creative work when you do it for brands. Because when you ask like the very fundamental question, why am I actually making this film? Is it to help this company make more money? At the end of the day, that's it. That's our work Hindi na natin pwede i-sugarcoat yun. That's what we do. We try to help them earn more money. And I just feel like it's our responsibility as creative practitioners to interpret that and turn that into something that actually has value for the creatives. So you try to find that intersection in between serving these capitalists, serving these companies, but at the same time, you know, providing creatives with a proper hub for them to feel like, I like being a creative. And ang end of the day naman, what I always tell my team members is, you know, we will continue doing what we're doing until it comes to a point wherein when a kid gets asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he or she says, I want to be creative. Parehas yung reaction kapag sinabing, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer. So until we get to that point, I feel like there's a lot of work to be done still.
Thank you so much, John. Micah?
Bago ako mag-share, gusto ko lang sabihin, sobrang kinikilig ako this morning kasi nagpa-fangirl na ako sa lahat ng mga stories na naririnig ko since warm up pa lang. So, really honored and really happy to be here. And this is just like the first question, tama ba?
Yes,
so parang,
first question. And we have 20 minutes left.
Ano pong mangyari? Anyway, so ako naman, I was raised by a drummer and a violinist. They met in LaSalle sa college school band. So that was like my first, I guess I grew up listening to music, seeing things, being exposed to different art forms. And my mother's side, they were all music educators. So my lolo was teaching violin, lahat is string instrument. And then when I was in my undergrad is marketing. I'm a proud LaSallian. I took up marketing management in LaSalle. And for the internship or for the thesis, we just, for my internship, I was in a corporate company, and the CCP. So obviously, dun ako napunta sa, okay, meron palang art management. I don't really have to be an artist or to always just be on stage. And I'm not a middle child. I'm the eldest of 6. So, yun yung first production management or art management or just like taking care of people, you know? And just being someone that believes in the vision of artists and creatives. And so my curatorial practice really just zooms in the core of it, like curare, to take care of. So I just see my practice and my work taking care of other people's visions, other people's dreams, other people's values. And yung creative industry, medyo parang, whoa, overwhelming. But I guess mentorship is really, really important. So being a marketing management graduate, sabi, medyo intimidating na parang, hala, hindi ako from UP or I'm not a graduate of fine arts, I'm not from arts management, from Benilde. So I carved my way in through just attending conferences and events and just showing up. And then sa mga mahihain akong lumaki, pero nung nandun na parang, I need to like just meet people and speak up and then just ask them and be inspired by people who went before me and learning from them. And just continuously showing up. And I found my way building Parasining as a platform, and recently we just finished a project with the ICRC or the International Committee on Red Cross on like an exhibition in Iligan to also shed light on narratives of people who were affected by the Marawi conflict 8 years after. And just being there and seeing na yung mga fabricators, printing, yung gumagawa mismo ng construction, parang, ito yun eh, parang they're also have jobs building this exhibition and craftsmanship talaga. So sobrang varied ng mga pwedeng gawin, but it also just starts with a vision and showing up and just trusting the process.
Maraming salamat. Thank you also for showing up today. Yes.
So, ang origin stories ko. Isa po akong anak ng sining. Literally. Yung tatay ko, hindi ko na po itatago, si Noel Cabangon. My mother is the former executive director of PETA, si Beng Cabangon. So my exposure to the arts, paglabas ko pa lang, exposed na ako doon. And I was always a fan of music, but I only started picking up the guitar when I was 13 years old for the super mababaw reason na ayokong ako lang sa pamilyang hindi nagigitara. So everybody here I think has siblings. Ako po ay isang only child. So, contrary to popular belief, yung nanay ko pong nagturo sa akin maggitara. And then, yung tatay ko would just give me advice somewhere along the lines. So, and when I picked up the guitar, I never dropped the guitar. I fell in love with music and craft, and with the craft. Sa totoo lang, I got into music apart from Del kasi I grew up literally in the industry. Apart from that reason, it's also because I really did fall in love with the craft. I am doing this not really because of the lifestyle, the money. It's really because I am very passionate about music as an art form, and I'm passionate with sharing Filipino music. I'm just fortunate na my professional journey got me to working full-time in the music industry and not in a corporate per se setting, because OPM is a non-profit organization and my work with Philpop is foundation work. It's a product of yung pag-aral ko ng development studies, the values I learned from my parents and also from PETA kasi they're kind of my extended family na rin. And at the same time, I'm an indie guy at heart. So nung college, I was part of a music organization. Gumigig ako. Uh, mga like 9 p.m. pero responsible student pa rin naman. And then after college, kahit na may day job, I was also still grinding sa indie scene, organizing my own gigs, organizing open mics, doing my own thing, even have a band. And then until now, I still do it. Yung like I said, it's really first and foremost because I love the craft. I want to be able to represent Filipino music in such a way that I can be proud of. And the reason why I do this work is because I also understand the challenge of being a professional artist. And siguro sa mga nanonood, I do want to say na number one, it's not wrong if you just want to do this as a hobby. It's really perfectly fine. I do hope though na before you enter this industry thinking I wanna earn money or I want the lifestyle, I want you to have sana the mindset na I wanna be good at it, I wanna be passionate at it, and at the same time I wanna do it because I wanna promote our culture. So yun lang for me.
Thank you, Gab.
Okay, so many wonderful stories, and I look forward to working with you with all of you in the future. No, so my origin story. I'm actually a licensed physical therapist. I was supposed to go to med school, so that's lesson number one. Doesn't matter where you come from, you can really get into the creative industry if you really want to. So, but that was by choice also, because I love science and medicine. But but I found it later on to be too predictable. In fact, my mom at one point parang umupo siya sa harap ko, tinanong niya ako, bakit ba ayaw mo? Ganun lang kasimple tanong niya. At di ko ba't ko sa sinagot. Ang sabi ko sa kanya, kasi alam ko na. So later on ko na na-realize, I think di niya rin naintindihan, di niya rin na-gets kung bakit yun sinagot ko sa kanya. But it kind of made sense later on that I wanted to choose the other passion that I also had, which is acting. So nung una, medyo TV film pa, ganon, mga showbiz stuff, until I met PETA. I encountered PETA, and that changed everything. PETA introduced what theater can be. And then after that, I decided na hindi to pwedeng wala ako masyadong alam, so I took my master's in theater arts and started teaching in the university. And from acting, it led me to directing and dramaturgy, and that's when I started to find a way to explore how theater can go beyond representation into more lived and sensorial experience, because my practice is in sensory methodologies of storytelling. So from PETA, I learned that theater can be used, can be socially engaged, can be used in education, community development, and advocacies. But later on, my science past caught up, and I ended up merging my practice with science. And from that impulse came Taxi Theater, which is an independent platform. It's just my platform to collaborate with other artists from various disciplines. The farther from the arts, the better, because I learn a lot by working with people outside the arts, actually. That's where I explored how you can extend audience engagement through these sensorial methodologies of telling stories. I always wanted to find other ways or other means of telling these stories and making sure that the audience have other options or greater agency in co-creating all of these experiences. But the pandemic actually changed everything, because during the pandemic, I got decentered from my creative self, so I had to find a way to get back that creative spark. So I started developing what I call the Creative Sensory Attunement Workshop, which is a very regenerative way of tapping into your creativity through encounters with nature, with your senses, with environment, with spaces. And later on, and that's the reason why I stayed, and I'm still here, and which later on became more of a framework on how to train and create productions. And that's what I'm doing now. I think in terms of the creative industry and why I'm still here, how I found my way into it, I think for me, theater, through this practice that I've been pursuing, I think theater is more than just a stage. It becomes a rehearsal for change, a rehearsal for care, a rehearsal for listening and participating, I guess. So what I wanted to do is to create a space that can somehow spark creativity, empathy, and yun, compassion.
Thank you, Eric. So my answer will be very short because we come from the same theater company. I'm also from PETA. So that's basically my awakening, that theater can be used as a platform for advocacy, for change, and also to invoke awareness. So yun naman sa akin. And that's why I'm still staying because of that mission, that purpose. Just like what you've said tayo, may iba't iba naman tayong mission and purpose of what we're staying in our creative industries. And thank you so much for your story. Sobrang amazing. Sobrang interesting. I wish you had more time actually to share more about that. But I guess my next question is, since you've already mentioned it, a lot of exciting things are happening in your industry right now. Kung kanina pinag-usapan natin, the past, we took a trip down memory lane. Sinabi niyo nga that you will be launching Mabuhay. Of course, there are many festivals and the care-based practices, and you're also onto something with the evolving workshops and the modules. What is something that's very exciting about your industry right now that the younger creatives should know about? Like, it can be an innovation, a trend, or maybe a practice that's not being done before, pero ngayon, ganito na kami. Ayun. And anybody may share. Sure, yeah.
Okay. Yung something exciting. Well, I'd like to think yung Filipino music right now is very diverse. There's a lot of new talent, both in the indie and mainstream scene. Ang daming magagaling. There's a lot more variety. And I'd like to think also that the quality of production from artists is just as good as the international level of music. So that's one thing that's very, very exciting. Kasi I think from a mainstream standpoint, you're seeing artists like SB19, napupuno ang mga stadiums such as Philippine Arena, na dati, they would say na that's impossible for a local artist to do a solo concert in like arenas and yung gawin siyang sold out. So I think it's a good indicator na our artists are generating so much interest in music. Tapos there's also a lot of interesting music coming in outside Metro Manila. We're seeing more artists trying to champion different languages, different styles. So I've always been a firm believer na yung Filipino music, the strength of Filipino music is diversity. And it's really great to see that there are artists right now yung championing the languages of their respective regions and trying to make it mainstream. Siguro one example would be si Diwata, Jasmine Villanueva. She's a Bicolana artist, and she uses yung language ng Bicol in some of her songs. And then others include yung mga Vis pop, Min pop. So those are very exciting developments sa music industry. And I'd like to see more variety and more support, not just for mainstream but also for the indie artists. Kasi we talked about yung talent. There really is no shortage of talent sa Filipino music. I mean, kung pupunta ka nga abroad, sino bang kumakanta sa Disney, sa Disney World, mga Pilipino, mga taga-theater rin nakilala natin. Or like yung sa mga cruise ships, it's most likely Filipino. Ngayon, I think the challenge for our industry sa Filipino music is, kasi the talent there is there. We're also very good at copying and covering music. Now, yung to encourage more originality. Yun. And also music also as a tool for advocating yung mga social causes, kasi it's always been there. Parang I think yung there has to be yung more recognition yung that music, just like theater, is also a tool yung for creating change.
Thank you, Gab. Oo nga, nandun na tayo sa owning our identity, and being really proud of it. How about the others?
Yeah.
Are there similarities? Yes, Gandhi.
I'd like to share. 2 years ago, the office that I work in Benilde, it's called the Center for Campus Art, which we now call the Center for Campus Exhibitions. We collaborated with the Museum of Benilde, the Museum of Contemporary Art and Design, as well as the Creative Industries Management Program, to establish a curatorial incubator program, which is basically a program to develop capacity in curatorship in the Philippines beyond the visual arts. So we're hoping to be able to, nurture curators for design, fashion, architecture, industrial design. So we're trying to do it. So the mechanics of the program basically is that we work with top international curators from based all over the world. They come to Manila for about 5-6 days. They do workshops and mentorship programs with young curators that we select based on an application wherein they submit exhibition ideas. So it's really very developmental in nature. We've had 2 editions. So I think that's if we're able to maybe help the careers of even like maybe 3 or 4, then I think that would be significant in terms of like developing the ecosystem for curatorship beyond the visual arts. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and it's great that you have a program like that. Is it exclusive for Benilde?
No, actually, it's open to any individual that would like to pursue a career in curatorship. Yeah. So.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dingdin. Ayan na, if the younger creatives are watching, that's an existing program. Ayan. How about the others?
Yeah.
Yes, Marvin.
Can I add? I think it's more of like the global market also. The movement of them looking at the East more. I think that's more exciting for me as well. I think just breaking that barrier of them wanting to see what's happening here. For us to be able to like originality to come out. Because even if it comes out and no one's looking, it's not as, I mean, for sure, like for us, it's gonna be great for our own welfare and all. But in terms of like industry-wise, just the openness of the foreign markets or outside, or even just the whole market as a whole, in the Philippines, Southeast Asia, and West, just opening up more opportunities for others, I think. For us, I think that's something that's exciting.
Maganda yun, no? Kasi hindi na lang Western-centric lagi
Yes,
ang
yes.
perspective. Yes, please.
Can I just say, since he didn't, toot his own horn, I think a lot of the incubator programs and a lot of the platforms that are putting up brands, small brands, or even creatives, that's relatively new, and parang it gives me a lot of hope. And I want to give a shout out to Marvin's Purveyor.
Thank you.
Because I mean we've seen it from when it started to
Blogspot
how
pa
it's
siya.
able to evolve to what it is nowadays. And to be quite honest, it is a breath of fresh air in the fashion spectrum, and the way that you're able to encourage and nurture designers and brands. There's not enough, I think, platform. Well, it's called what you did is called. That's also that way. But for you to be able to do that and in volume, in scale, those are things that are needed. And if we wait for having come from SITEM, right? If you wait for government and policy to change, that's going to be a long time coming. So I'm really proud that there are people like you guys that are able to say, this is my mission. And because you work with entrepreneurs and creatives, for me, that is the heart of everything. That the creative has to think of himself as a business. of course, your mission, what you're selling, your art. Well, wait, maybe not your art because there has to be a clear separation of art to the creative, to the creativity that you're monetizing, commercializing, or selling, because that's another discussion that we don't have time for. But having said that, nga, I mean, being able to put that forward and you know, nurture a next generation of creatives who are open to being creatives. A lot of creatives that I know became creatives because they hate math. They did not want to take that path into business. They feared accounting, stayed away from accounting in college, and then they came into business knowing, facing na, oh my God, I needed all these things. And then so I feel that you guys are at a point wherein you're starting and hey guys, you're working with creatives, but from a business point, and you're engendering a new generation who know that from the start, that it's not just all marketing, diba? That you have to start with a product, that you have to have the whole business plan, that you have to know your operations in and out. So I think that's the heart of whether you're doing brands or whether you're doing theater or you're in an agency, you know how to package that whole thing, or art, diba? So that it's a win-win for both the buyers and the sellers. Because we've been through those times where it was only a win for the seller, for the buyer, not the seller. Or no, it was a win for the middleman. Right?
Why look at me?
No, but for the longest time, yun yung nangyayari. Yung gumagawa ng pera, yung middleman talaga, right? And we just really need to put up more platforms for creative entrepreneurs to be able to test their mettle. So that's the whole thing. There are others, pero wag na kasulan tayong time.
Thank you, Marvin. And thank you for bringing that up. Kasi di ba usually may aversion na parang, no, I don't want to turn this into a business. Pero that's the reality.
I know we're running out
and
of time.
Also,
can I add quickly lang? Just to add there. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think now brands are listening to us. I'm not all the time in your case, but for us, with Tier 1, and now that we position ourselves to be more of a Southeast Asian company rather than just a Filipino company, and they see the power of work, creatives, they actually listen more now, and they actually want to know how your creators feel, and so 100% about everything you said. Now we're in that moment of time wherein it becomes both win-win, especially for creators, and that's why we have a creator economy. And so it's exciting, but obviously the traditional brands are going to still be there, and that's where I come in, being a creative, moving towards more of the brand partnership and more of the revenue aspect of our business. And maybe because I'm just lucky that instead of taking graphic design, because there was no graphic design back then, I took an economics major, so maybe probably worked out. So
see, we really need a strong community of artists because we can really learn from each other, especially pag may mga ganyang challenges. Yan, speaking, yes, go John.
Yeah, I just really have to mention it because it's a really nice point of conversation. No? When we talk innovation and creatives, of course, I feel like sayang naman kung di natin masasanggi yung AI and how it's influencing creative economy and all that, right? But in the case of Sir Marvin, I've been a really big fan. So again, born 2000. So pag medyo kumukultura ka, hindi pwedeng hindi ka nag-purveyor post, right? Hindi pwedeng hindi ka dumaan doon. But like, the reason why I'm mentioning it is, like, in this era of AI, they feel like it's the battle of the machines. They feel like, the most sophisticated technology will win it all. But the way I see it, or from my belief, the more human you are, the easier it is for you to win in this era. Because like it's so easy to generate so much content, so easy to generate so much material. But what will stand out is how human you are at the end of the day, how your content makes me feel the human aspect of how I consume media. And with, with outfits like Purveyor, you see them not really battling it directly, but more like championing how our local enterprises can be a lot more present. How can they be much more of winners in the current landscape of media, marketing, and advertising? And lastly, just wanna mention as well yung move like dun sa Spasho sa Opus Mall. That's really amazing to me because like as a kid, you go to the department store, you see brands that you don't really attribute na local brand eh. But you go to Spasho, you go to Opus, you see a whole floor filled with local brands like The Roots, and a lot more. So that's amazing to me how we can bring that closer as we go in this era of AI. Parang what I always tell my team lang naman is, you're not supposed to lose your job. With this AI era, the impossible becomes hard, the hard becomes easy, and the easy becomes automatic. And that's it. And I feel like we can all channel that in order to empower our local enterprises, our local businesses. Because now, from a communications and design standpoint, medyo na-level yung playing field. And knowing that Filipinos are amongst the most creative in the world, I'm very excited how that will unfold for us in the future.
We're so excited too. And I think that's also very valid, no? Ang dami din kasing young creatives ang nagtatanong, will AI replace us when we graduate? And it's very comforting that we've heard that from you. Ang pagiging tao at ang pagpapangatao pa rin ang mananaig. Okay. How about the others? Anything you'd like to share about your industry right now?
I think just because I'm excited, it caught my attention. Yeah, I am excited about all these DIY platforms that the young people are kind of putting up themselves. That DIY attitude, coupled with creativity and entrepreneurship, obviously, seeing sticker markets pop up in cafes, to growing into what could become Purveyor, Spasho, Cubao X, along with Comuna in Makati, Common Room in Purveyor, also in the Atrium of Makati. What's exciting is how creative the next generation, or the generation now, is seeing spaces and how to utilize these spaces adaptively use, or just kind of creatively mixing different industries together and finding those collaborations. So they're kind of coloring outside the lines, going back to crayons, and finding new ways and rewriting the way that creativity should be and how it can be perceived and where it can go.
Thank you. Okay, sige.
Kasi baka sabihin ng theater, ba't hindi salita yung theater? No, maraming mga away sa akin. Charot. Hindi. The thing is, the theater ecosystem is very vibrant right now. A lot of commercial plays, original Filipino plays, international import. So it's very vibrant. But more importantly, there's a step towards decentralization. With CCP's case as a sining, you have regional partnerships now. So in short, I think there's a boost. I hope we can sustain it. No. Also, in academia, there are programs now training arts managers, theater makers. Also, maraming mga schools na nag-open ngayon. So I think, I hope we can sustain that growth right now.
Sorry, little quick lang kasi from Jody and Sir Eric. Kasi like he was saying something about the hubs as well. But yeah, the part that the educational institutions play right now, kasi before, like I remember when I was starting, wala pa talaga masyadong schools or anywhere you can learn other than if you go abroad, probably. But here, right now, there are more schools that cater to the creatives. And here, in Benilde specifically. Benilde, especially, here naman talagang, it's dedicated for the arts. We're in the School of Design and Arts, no? But it also makes it more formal in a sense for the students. You can actually learn it in school, and you can, hindi na siya, as much as it's nice to have a DIY approach to things, it's also nice to be able to learn the foundations, to be able to learn, get good mentors na you wouldn't have access to if maybe you didn't have the right connections. But through school, it kind of a little bit equalizes and gives other people access to the creatives.
So yun, talagang major institutions play a big part in the creative industry. So
Affirm ko lang din yung sa program. So, a lot of residencies and programs are geared towards like artists, fine arts. So, Benilde has arts management program, creative industries management. And a lot of the institutions are also like the Hub are opening programs up for like producers, collectives, and with the curators workshop. So, it's not just zooming in artists, producing artists, but also those who are part of the ecosystem like arts managers, curators, and producers. And yung sinabi rin yung global market looking into what the Philippines has to offer in terms of interdisciplinary work or contemporary performance. Ang dami nang namamapa na contemporary performance makers din through like different existing networks, through programs like the performance ecologies that Isa Hoxon has spearheaded. And now there's this big platform upcoming this September wherein there will be independent performing artists staging new works, world premieres in Frankfurt, Germany. So these are like possibilities that's already happening. Siguro dun sa challenge lang, segueing lang din sa challenge, it's also audience engagement. And then having that awareness that these forms also exist. Contemporary performance making and also the infrastructure for it, because right now the theaters that we have are really, really, really big, so like thousands, hundreds, but these works also require like spaces wherein they could also rehearse and perform for a more intimate audience. So siguro din for the other sector to consider, or for other sectors and also other establishments to also consider that as a possible option, yung those types of spaces for these works to be developed.
Thank you, Mike.
So context again, so I'm coming from the fashion industry. So actually hindi ako taga Maynila, Bulacan talaga ako. So everything, all the people I've met is really out of generosity of their time. When I was interning, when I was in college, all of that. So I think what's interesting now is, at least for the fashion industry, we've seen big titles internationally having interest here, such as the Vogue Philippines, though unfortunately we had CNN at one point, but that has closed. But the fact that those big media titles are looking at interest in the Philippines is a good sign. Extensively, when I was graduating, there were very few spaces that want to house Filipino fashion brands. And I was just lucky to have Green Sun incubate me and my brand, which showed me, oh, there's money here that can be made. So now there are more spaces like this. Right now, I am consulting for a few independent brands. Now we are fixing the operational and the financial back end of that. But they are already supplying to the department stores such as Rustans, who before are not going to mind any small independent brand. So that's one thing. Another thing also is the rise of these organizations. So again, I was part of Philippine Fashion Coalition. So they are right now, because of a partnership with DTI, are sending 12 designers to Milan to go for a mentorship session with the big names in Italy. And through the company that I have also, which is PHX Fashion Group, back in 2023, we did send around 12 designers in Tokyo naman. So because we want to be globally competitive, by also being locally secure in terms of sustainability. So I think, in general, the fashion industry is being, we're trying to be sustainable within the Philippines. It's not just your usual, Uniqlo basic polo shirt or all. There is actually creativity in these designs. And the fact that not just the ones who can afford have interest in it, even those who are in certain price points, na ito lang yung presyo natin pero kakaiba, is such kind of a different change when I started. So the fact that we want to continue creating these spaces where brands can safely incubate and create businesses by having a cushion and a safety net. The fact that people are open to join and open to create those kind of opportunities is so exciting. And the fact that we are now getting into this direction of pag creative ka, sometimes talaga you have to think about the business side of it. And the fact that Benilde from arts management moved to creative industries management is such a big deal because I was approached by Dindin Areneto, who's the chairperson of arts management before, to fix the curriculum in terms of creative industries management, coming from arts management for the fashion design class as kind of kailangan may intro to creative industries management lahat ng courses sa Benilde is such a I would say progress. Kasi sometimes talaga nangyayari as graduates, if you're not business-minded, and I come from a family of business people, I'm fortunate enough to have that teaching within my family. But not everyone has that. So the fact that academic institutions are including business ethics at the very least in terms of their courses, kahit art yan or multimedia arts, is such a really great progress. And it means that we can be sustainable. We can't be starving artists forever. We want to be thriving and not just dependent on outside resources. So we know how to go away in the world, talking to the Attorney Janice in terms of intellectual property. I think the fact that Benilde has CIPM is such a great progress as well compared to like when I graduated in 2014. So I would say those are the exciting things we have in place, and the fact that the Congress also has the Creative Industries Act that kind of mandates that there is a set budget for the development of the creative industries in the Philippines is such a big thing. We just have to be watchful lang kung saan napupunta yung pera na yun. But I think on that end, I think those are the exciting things that I'm looking in terms of not just fashion, but also creative industries in general.
Thank you. I think now we know why you're excited and optimistic because you have these tools and programs as well. And by the way, Dindin is actually one of our guests in the earlier roundtable. Oo, yun. She also shared some exciting news naman about the visual art scene. Ayun. How about you, Janine?
Okay, for the theater, I guess, what's exciting about the theater right now is marami nang nanonood ng shows. So marami ng shows. Although it's competitive for a lot, but ang maganda lang tingnan na, magandang yung feeling na ang daming nanonood, na hindi, back in pre-pandemic, it's like, you see the same faces, but now there are a lot of theater companies that opened different audiences talaga. And then aside from that, it also, parang yung mga regional theater groups rin, they're starting to parang boom rin. Like we're seeing Cebu having mas although I feel like Cebu has a theater community, pero because of nga yung mga platforms like Reddit, we get to know more about them. And there are people who actually fly to Cebu to watch. So yung mga things that's exciting about it. So yeah, with a lot of things, na maraming shows, maraming opportunities. So that's for the creatives who are either actors or production or managers, ganon. So maraming opportunities. But what really excites me is the management side. Being as yung general manager right now sa GMG gets me excited to see yung parang yung practices, good practices na what I didn't get to feel before na we get to correct. Like our space, ganyan. So we get to see that and mas open rin yung mga theater community to talk about it. Na how long is your working hours? How long is your, what are your pays for not just yung mga workers you're at, but interns as well. Like, are you paying your interns? And it's also not just inside the theater community, but I read Reddit a lot and I see some posts. So it's awareness na rin. Of not just the people who works in the industries, but who also wants to join that industry, of being aware of what your rights are, even if you're just starting out. So that's really exciting kasi I used to be that kid who's like, oh, ano ba talaga, like, biglang makikita ko lang yung paycheck ko lang, oh, okay, sige, tatanggapin ko na lang kasi, it's work. Pero also having people like people who used to feel that at least someone like Nina guiding them na, okay, we're gonna protect you. We're gonna protect as well, not just the younger generation, but also those who have been in the industry for a long time. Yun yung mga something exciting right now in the theater industry.
Thank you. Maganda yan. And for our young creatives who are watching right now, know your rights. Okay. Jake.
Okay. So for a little bit of context, like I don't represent dance as a whole. Kasi maraming parts. I come from the street dance side, hip hop, and for the longest time, it's hard to continue a path like career-wise sa hip hop. So going back to sa street dance, but what excites me the most right now is that the eyes on it, like, and the opportunities that we have right now. Mas maraming paths na pwede i-take. It's easier now to kind of pursue it. Not the easiest still, but it's easier to pursue it just because of how certain industries are like booming, P-pop, mga ganyang side of like, for the longest time kasi if you want to pursue dance, ang options mo was like, you would do backup dancing, you would try theater sa dance, you would try ballet yung mas, for the longest time, it's like it's the strongest, but now it's like you have other ways to pursue it. So yun, sa performances, like doing shows, a lot more shows nowadays, a lot more ways to pursue it. And I think one of the other things is that social media, I mean, as much as it's maraming pros and cons with social media, it's also bringing up a lot of like opportunities for us to pursue it, with content, with again, with just the avenue of social media. A lot of people are bringing more eyes into it. Dun sa dance. That before you couldn't really, yeah, you would create things, you would do things that it's like a few people see it. So, you do it for a show and it's like naka-shelf na yan sa archives ng isang whatever. But nowadays, people, it's yung digital footprint, everyone just sees it, everyone just like sees all of the work, and it opens up a lot of opportunities for us to explore it. The other thing is that aside, along with the content, with mga ganyan, now it's elevate. People are starting to elevate the dance as a whole. Before, again, I started sa workshops sa maneuvers, ganyan. They were known for the longest time as backup dancing for this, for Gary V, ganyan. Nowadays, it's like groups and teams are elevating dance in a way that you don't just get this for a backup dancer. You get this as the main act. You get this team as, oh, we need to get this as an artist. Some art agencies are getting these teams as a main act, as an artist, and not just like an extra thing, an additional thing to enhance the performances, the shows, the events. So that's the other thing. The last thing, I think what excites me the most is from my side of dance, which is street dance. It's very common now to just hear news about like this team won here, this other team won here. I think it's nandun yung level ng dance right now of like street dance, that we are like one of those countries that people look at and like see that, oh, Philippines yan. Philippines is like team to look out for. And competition side, we are like one of those teams na parang people just look at and it's like, kakabahan kami dyan sa Philippines. Because it's like, you hear like monthly right now, I think since, I don't know, the start of the year, 4 or 5 major competitions, puro mga Philippines yung nananalo sa street dance, ganyan. Just because of tuloy-tuloy lang na parang the quality has risen. As in tuloy-tuloy na parang the teams who trailblazed street dance for us and hip-hop, they're still going and they're still pushing each other and they're still like raising the standard for dance. That nowadays it's easier to just see it as like, okay, mananalo yan. It's exciting kasi andun tayo sa level na yun in terms of like this side of dance na street dance. So yeah.
Thank you. Also, I can attest to that because was with you, diba, when you competed years back, and they
Yes.
were really afraid of the Philippines. Kaya nga ang hashtag sa inyo noon, Pinas Pataas.
Yes.
And sinasabi nila, bakit yung mga Pinoy pag nagpe-perform, parang merong, what do you call this, fire sa kanila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was this one recent team po that won in competition in China. They did like a little bit of sharing lang. They did like a routine yung doble cara. They're like one girl side and one guy side, and they were just dancing on the side of like femme, tas lilipat sila, tas masculine, ganyan. Tas sobrang kulang ng concept. It's like a new approach. It's one of our close friends dito sa community. So yeah, they won like a week ago, I think, sa China. With most of the other teams are like Chinese and maraming bigger names judging in the competition. So yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Maybe from the visual arts and academe, two things that I'm excited about off the top of my head are first, more spaces. There are more spaces, I think, now for cultural production, for exhibitions, conversations, compared to before. And there are more spaces despite the lack of, or the shrinking government support for the arts, especially we're a public university, and we can feel how the budget, not just for the arts, but for education in general, is slowly being cut down. May budget cut kami ulit eh. But excited ako kasi people are pushing back and trying to nurture these spaces. That means galleries, museums, and community spaces in schools. Last month, I was in, 2 months ago, I was in UP Baguio, where they have a fine arts program, and they're doing good work with their students. UP Cebu rin with their gallery and their programs there. And nakakatuwa every time to see how schools from senior high schools, here around the city and in other cities, are starting to think of programs that nurture arts-based, research-based art practice. So I think there is an increase of spaces where conversations, but also critical discourse and research happens alongside cultural production. And I think that's very important for nurturing a community of artists and cultural workers and creatives. Kasi school offers that one of the many spaces that are safe to discuss, explore, debate, and maybe arrive at solutions, but think about the hard problems and ask the hard questions. We're holding this in a school setting, no? I think the role of schools in the creative economy, or the vision of that, is very crucial. There's a very strong link. A lot of our creatives also started in school, and the process also continued there. So that's one thing. Second is yung more self-organization among artists. I agree. Sobrang nag-resonate sa akin yung nabanggit mo na, yan, you have spaces, but you also have more organizations, because this is happening despite yung political repression that's been ongoing since not just the past few years, but even the decades before. Huh? So, nag-iiba lang yung anyo siguro of how injustice and repression happens, but it is there. And despite that, there are communities of artists and art workers who find that space to converge and to organize among ourselves. Nakakatuwa kasi when you look at different artistic fields and disciplines dito sa atin, there are different forms of organization. You have the guilds, the collectives, marami. It has yet to reach maybe a larger voice because ngayon ang tingin ko po is hiwa-hiwalay pa rin, pero there is that sense of self-organization happening, and we're becoming aware as a whole community and industry that one cannot do artistic work and creative work alone and without the solidarity and support of the larger community in which we are in. So I see a lot of that in the visual arts and in the academe happening now, and I think that is also the case for other, hopefully other artistic fields. And that kind of solidarity makes a lot of other things possible, I think. So that's why I'm excited, kasi having space, having that community also creates other possibilities to work together. But we must be vigilant and also critical in how we also work together, I think.
Thank you. Now that you've mentioned it po, we've already built a community now, a small community where we actually gathered and discussed these things. So, ang galing. Attorney Jen?
Okay. Nagpa-fangirl moment ako kay Jacob, tsaka dito kay Miss. Ang gaganda ng mga kwento. What excites me for intellectual property, it's a very legal topic, no, for most of us. And I'm reminded that during my time, when I was deciding what to pursue in college, parang yung options at that time are just, mag-engineer ka, magdo-doctor ka, or maglo-lawyer ka. So, when I spoke to my students' arts management class, where I'm teaching law and policy for arts management here at Benilde also, sabi ko sa kanila, ang swerte nyo, no? Kasi parang ngayon, it's being in a creative program, no? Whether it's arts management or fashion or multimedia arts or film, music, parang ano na siya talaga ngayon. For parents, yes, yan ang gustong kunin ng anak natin, let's support. Dati parang hindi course yun eh. There's no future. So I'm really excited that, this generation of parents are very open and supportive to their kids who want to pursue a creative track. Talagang for me, that's a shift in mindset, in culture. So maganda kasi parang timing din that as we really immerse in technology, nandun talaga yung interest ng maraming kabataan ngayon. At least sumasabay din, no, yung generation ng mga magulang. Of course, I'm sure may konting mga resistance pa din. Magkakaroon ka ba ng trabaho dyan sa degree na yan, no? And that's where schools like Benilde can really come in. And I'm really excited because, of course, our student population continues to grow. We're recovering from the pandemic, from the impact of the pandemic, and we continue to offer really cutting-edge programs here at Benilde. Very exciting kasi yung mindset at saka yung synergies, ibang-iba na siya ngayon. Before we used to work as administrators in a very bureaucratic way. Like, okay, may hierarchy yan, kailangan dito ka magre-report and all, no? But I think in the recent years, parang that's not the way anymore, no? You talk to the person you need to talk to directly. You have to look at creative ways to get the job done. So even our systems and our processes are very creative now. We're very innovative, no, in our approach. And here sa Benilde, very exciting kasi program chairpersons from dance program, from theater production, they come to us, to intellectual property, and they really want to collaborate because mas naiintindihan na nila ngayon na yung theater, yung mga production design, yung dance, may intellectual property siya. And they really want the students to understand and appreciate that as well. So I guess what excites me is really that shift in mindset from families to the academics to the administrators of schools, no? So Benilde, really, madaming gustong pumunta sa Benilde. Many people want to work with Benilde because here we're very open. No, parang every week may something creative that's happening. And if you come to us, you talk to us, parang parating, I don't know kung ako lang ba to, but when for Benilde HIFI, for example, or for CIPM, when somebody wants to collaborate with us, when we see it as something that will benefit learning, go kami. Okay? Saka na natin isipin yung mga intricacies, operational, as long as magagawa natin together. We're always looking at the results, what the objective is, and how to achieve that. So, in fact, for the LaSalle community, no, just to make it a bit broader, the De La Salle Philippine network of schools, we have an intellectual property commission. So what this means is the bigger LaSalle schools like Benilde, De La Salle University, Dasmariñas, HSI, also in Dasmariñas, meron kaming mga IP offices na medyo established na. So ang ginawa namin, nag-form kami ng commission, and the idea is to help support all the other LaSalle schools across the country to also start operating their IP sa bawat schools. No? So sabi namin, you know, we cannot always rely on government, right? We have resources, which is tayo. So why not work together and collaborate? So very active ang LaSalle network of schools in pursuing intellectual property. So it's hindi kami kanya-kanya. We look at each other's strengths. And one example of that, which is very exciting also, is the collaborations that we do among the different LaSalle schools. So for example, sa DLSU, no, of course, magagaling sila sa engineering, robotics, no, computer science, so nandyan yung kanilang mga core. Pero alam nila na kailangan merong magandang design ang kanilang mga products and technology para bumenta sa merkado. So kaya naman, lalapit sila sa Benilde and they would say, Attorney Janice, mag-collaborate tayo. So yung IP office ng DLSU, yung IP office ng Benilde, we work together to address naman yung kanilang wala doon yung strength nila. So design or marketing or digital marketing, no? So very exciting. So many things. Just really the openness to creatives is, I think, nasa height talaga tayo ngayon, and I hope we continue to, you know, yung momentum na to, we don't lose it, and we just continue to pursue it and you know, rise. Kasi napakaganda naman ng mga conversations ngayon. Of course, it's never perfect. Madami pang kulang, madaming mga issues every so often, but if we look at the work that we need to do here, for example, in school, madami tayong magagawa. Exciting times, definitely. Madami exciting. Yeah.
Thank you. And it's good that you brought that up. Kasi intangible ang perspective change, ang mga narrative shift. Pero napakahalaga niya, actually, para mag-progress ang isang industry. Thank you. Sarah.
Good. Just very quickly, ang ganda na nung mga naibahagi about like sharing and protecting and nurturing. Parang a culture of work that protects one another is magaling. I just want to underline what everyone said about that. Maybe brief example, anecdote. Training ko kasi sa film, and many years ago, ang shoot would really take 24 hours kasi they were maximizing people's time because of the equipment rental. So I'm sure this is parang familiar, but now parang, you know, with the new legislation that helps support yung proper labor practices, especially sa mga ganyan, I think malaki yung impact niyan sa creative work. So yun, like that.
Importante yun, legislation, policies.
What excites me now, just now, I got at least 4 stories. Like the Milan thing, which is we're running in the diaries for mentorship. The theater, Philippine theater, has never really been more competitive than now. There was a time 5 lang ang audience, diba? You know that very well. And then the street dance, it really got me so curious because parang I want to know really kung anong level ng street dance in the Philippines. And then visual arts, totoo yun, because visual arts was something that didn't finish or suffer during the pandemic. So that brings me to the Diarist. We, as a website, it was not planned. We were winding up our Inquirer. Me, I was 8 years overdue for retirement in Inquirer. Huwag niyo na lang i-share yun. But, you know, when finally, nung nag-pandemic na, I said, you know, I want to continue how to write because I've been writing. My frustration is I couldn't write fiction, but I've been writing about my childhood, ganun, ganun. And then my friend, who's from ABS, was from ABS, and who's also a digital data analyst, said, okay, so let's just put up a website. Ako naman, right at that, so sige, let's put up a website. I didn't realize it was a rabbit hole or it was something na ipupukpok ko talaga sa, because sabi ko, sige. So I asked my friends, writers and all that, oh, let's put down a website. And then we'll do essays, ha? Para hindi tayo ma-plagiarize masyado and AI will not be a threat so much, because how on earth do you copy or replicate the insanity of an Alia Honasan, right? So that's very hard. So we put up a website. We went live on the birthday of Jean of BTS, December 4, because we were all BTS army. And then in a day, in 24 hours, the following day, our site crashed because we got more than 20,000 views. Our bandwidth then was only limited. So I said, you mean to tell me I had 12,000 to 20,000 enemies who were trying to see if I could transcend to website naman from print, right? Or from TV. So I said, oh my God, ang dami yatang nanonood waiting for us to fall flat on our faces. So we how do you call that? Raised our bandwidth. And then nagkaroon na ng The Diarist because people just started to contribute their essays, their personal voice. And before we knew it, what excites us is that we were already doing coverages, you know, and then when my good friend, it was President Pinoy, Noy, who was saying, Thelma, I have no doubt that you will succeed. Sabi ko, talaga, ang hirap nito ha. Ang hirap i-sustain. No, I think it will succeed. And then when he unexpectedly died, our views increased to hundreds of thousands. So I said, oh my God, so that this was what he meant. It was his send-off gift to me. That was when Diaries really went up, diaries.ph. And so what you're going back to what's exciting is that akala ko magsusulat lang kami, not knowing that we will have to have our social media. We would have to be in Instagram and now in TikTok and Facebook. And then we were already doing reels. We're already doing reels and videos. Who's doing it? Well, Benilde and LaSalle students. Now, they tell me they don't cut classes, but, you know, and their work has been so impressive to the point that even the top brands in the country are beginning to get them. So I said, hindi ba student rate? So what I'm sharing with you guys is what excites me is we live in an era when a story is being born every second, and that you get to share that story also every second. So what we have to do is to discern and discriminate which story we want to share. So I think it would be good for students to realize that you have to have your niche, like what she did. She found art history as her niche so that you have an expertise, your unique voice to bring to the table. So nobody could plagiarize you. No machine could take your place. You know, you find your unique voice, you find your unique experience, and you get that by listening and also by, like what she said, by being humble and knowing that you will learn from the others. So yun lang, pero mahirap talaga.
Thank you for grounding us in the reality na, oo nga, these are very exciting times, right? Pero of course, the reality of it is that there are also challenges. It's not always rainbows and butterflies all the time. So ngayon naman, para din magkaroon ng idea ang ating young creatives, we'd like to know, what do you think is a major challenge in your industry or creative community right now? And sige, let's hit two birds with one stone. Sa tingin nyo, ano din yung kind of support that you need in order for you to surpass this major challenge? So it can be individual support, or maybe from communities, organizations, or maybe from within the industry, or maybe practices that you need to revise or forgo in order for you to be, you know, to have that ideal creative community.
Pwede, bibilisan ko na lang.
Sure po.
The challenge is to get your audience, is to get your views, and that is the challenge, and to find your medium, your platform. The challenge is to get, for a website, is to get a funding through ads, basically through ads, funding that has no, how do you call that? Selfish political agenda. That has always been the challenge of Philippine media. You know, you're asking what is the creative industry, how does it get its support in the Philippines? Well, the very first answer is don't shut it down. Just like what happened to my old alma mater, right? So I'm saying other countries know how to make their industries, their creative industries thrive without muzzling it, but at the same time making it a positive tool for growth, right? So that's the challenge, is I know how to find your audience. And you can do that by having your own unique voice, your own unique expertise. It boils down actually to funding. The funding that is not, how do you call that, with big strings attached. Yun ang challenge. And how to compete for there's a noise out there. As you know, there's a big clutter. So how do you compete? You know, like, buti sana kung marunong tayong mag-street dance. You know, what I'm saying is you practically dance on your head. You know, literally and figuratively speaking, to get your audience, no matter how small it is. And my advice is you find your expertise and be good at it so that you have your market.
Thank you so much. That's really good advice. Can you relate as well? Is it also about sustainability and finding that kind of support for your industry?
Yeah, very much. I think sustainability-wise, like figuring out how to keep going. Like, of course, like I get when I'm mainly doing it on the competition side. So most of the teams that I'm coaching or consulting for, the ones that keep going are the ones who have schools. But what about the other organizations that are not like funded by anything? For example, when we won in 2023, our flight, our everything, accommodations, pocket money, most of it, like 90% of it. Of course, support from friends and family, ganyan. But sustainability of how do you keep going every year, every time to represent, to compete and do all of this. And again, I guess when you go connected to the support part, is that when we win these competitions, like it's a fact that for the longest time, like sa World Hip Hop Dance Championship, the one that we won, we've been winning for years. Like we're up to par with like total medals with Japan, with New Zealand, with these other big countries. And when we come home, it's like it's a thank you. It's a news mention. But for example, like in other things like Olympics, na when you come home, you get a condo, you get millions. You get like this, like from, I guess it's different, like private organizations, government, ganyan. Because I hear like from other countries, like sa U.S. Olympics, they get like a certain amount from the government when they win pag-uwi. So I think it's just the same thing of like how yung support. I think the reward is kind of like the support that we're looking for, is that we're not really doing this to get rich. We're just doing this for us to be able to keep doing it yearly, you know. That's the only support that we're looking for, is that when we represent the country of like winning here, competing here, being competitive yearly, the biggest challenge is like how do we keep doing it every year if it's like, you know, you have to be competitive on the creative side, and having to balance it with your work, how to sustain yourself daily, ganyan. And you're competing against these big countries of like Japan, New Zealand, ganyan, all of which are like funded by the government, all of which are like supported by ganito, ganyan. So I think that's kaya yung when you said the fire, the resilience, nung Filipinos, it shows with what we come up with this, because we experience it every day. Parang yun yung resiliency of like having to go to training, having to do it after school, having to do it pag-uwi. All of it is like you have to balance it. I think yun yung biggest challenge on this side. And the other side is like, I guess yung sa industry now is like what I mentioned a while ago of having more eyes with dance, social media and all of this. The challenge is, I guess, with anything new, a lot of new challenges come with it as well. Of like, for example, like TikTok, you see everyone dancing left and right because of TikTok, and we appreciate it. Like it's one of the things na we asked for it, and now it's here, and it's like now everyone's like open to dancing, ganyan. Kahit yung your shyest friends now are like dancing on the side, doing this, doing that. And I think yung challenge with that is like how do we turn it into like an opportunity for us? How do we convert it into something else? And like, again, with more people coming in, now it's also getting more competitive, ganyan, with like all over the country, all over the world, ganyan. So yeah, I think yun yung challenges for the other side as well. But mainly, since I'm in the competition side and the street dance side, I think it's the funding and the heavy on the funding. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, may naalala lang ako, just to add to that. Naalala mo yung sagot natin sa kanila when they say that we have a fire in us.
Yeah.
We always say, galing kasi kami sa developing nation. Not to romanticize it, our resilience and everything, pero it's really that drive.
Yeah.
Oo. Thanks for the recognition, but we need support.
The third world grit is what they call it.
Yeah.
Yung nabuti nabanggit mo yung sustainability kasi I think sustainability, it is very closely linked with social justice and good governance. You cannot, I think you cannot have one without the other. So having increased budget for the arts is really a question also of good governance. We need arts funding that is not hostage to very personal interests, for instance. And I think the arts and culture community really thrives in an atmosphere where support is given democratically. And with that kind of vision for ano bang klaseng kultura ang gusto nating para sa mga Pilipino. So sustainability is really a core, hindi lang value but a goal at stake here. When we think of what kind of culture do we want for the Philippines, that is very tied to questions of how accessible is culture, from training and developing, nurturing specialists and experts to also bringing that sense of culture and identity to and affirming kumbaga, nire-raise mo yung quality of cultural life and experience of the majority. And most of the people in our country are farmers, are fisher folk, are workers who are displaced. So what does culture mean? And the experience of art and culture also mean for that. So I think these are questions that also need to be answered in looking at sustainability, because that also affects the kind of sense of funding for the arts that should be defined. Napakaganda siguro talaga to have a landscape where even the farthest communities have support for the arts. So parang good governance, of course, is a key factor also in making that happen. Kasi I think there is money for the arts, whether in private or in public, the public or private spheres. Pero it is also a question of how to channel it and what for. Support also for education is very important, because in looking at what kind of culture do we want and what kind of people do we want 50 years from now, I think many of us can imagine a Philippines where many are not just functionally literate, but also visually, digitally, financially literate. No? And cultural education is also very important in making that happen. Kaya parang sa akin talaga, ano sila they are so closely linked. Sustainability, good governance, and social justice. Yun.
Tama. It's really intersectional.
Yes. So maybe just to add on the sustainability discussion we have, I think it's 2 points for me. So there's I think ang daming sustainability, may green sustainability, etc. I think 2 important parts is the business sustainability and industry sustainability. So I think on the business side, definitely I've seen it in terms of the market, because when I started right after college, doing designs, etc., madali kang ma-vulture ng mga powers that may be in terms of hindi ka babayaran, ikaw bahala sa pang-delivery, etc., all of that. Mainly because business wasn't really part of being creative. But I do think at this time and age, especially that the creative industry is now deemed as a creative economy, that means money is being exchanged. And I think making money as part of this creative industry shouldn't be made taboo. We should be comfortable talking about it. So I do think that business sustainability, hindi lang tayo naghihintay sa opportunities, we can create it. And then sometimes is where we do incubations that's quite longer. I love the fairs that's happening. I know Marvin here was purveyor from here, and I've seen that grow from 10 to 15 buyers to now they're going to be in World Trade. But also I think brands should think about not depending on 3-day fairs. They should think about beyond that. That's just one, because you cannot dictate a 365-day business outcome out of a 3-day task ng sales natin. The rest of the 362, what's happening, right? So I do think creatives, definitely there's opportunities mag-apply ng grants, etc. But I do think we also have to think very entrepreneurially, and the fact that we are coming from the industry, alam natin pinagdadaanan nila, we can create that business environment where everyone is compensated well, walang over 24 hours nagtatrabaho, and we know our rates. And I think that is something as creatives, be it you're coming into corporate, going creative ka, getting into corporate, or creative ka, doing your own business, those are the things that we should also consider. It's kind of taboo, we think about money, but that's how the world works. So I think the business sustainability is one critical thing for creatives individually and as groups and companies. And additionally, I think in the industry part of sustainability, yung kaninang organizing, I think that's very important. I was just exposed to that because I was staging my own business workshops because no one else was doing it. And we can't just wait for white knights to come in. And you're already seeing it abroad. Now they're doing that. Why can't we do that as well? So I think creating that gave me an opportunity to join these councils. And that made me, not me giving me more power, but that thing to have more eyes and more people that can kind of use that knowledge to kung saan nila gusto pupunta yung businesses nila. So I do think participating in this organization, sometimes you're gonna think, oh, problema yun ng government. Or hindi ko yung problema. I'm still looking at paano ko babayaran sarili ko and all my workers and all. But I do think that participation there gives you a voice. The coalition that I'm part of, which is Philippine Fashion Coalition, was started in the pandemic. And during that time, that's when the Creative Industries Development Act was being lobbied. And we had to talk to each other because we can't do 5, 10 different presentations to the Congress and the Senate with differing opinions. And I think that's something that hasn't been popular yet, na joining the organizations is a form of a vote because that will influence what kind of things you want to say to your legislators, say to these executive departments. I do think it's something that we need to amplify because not just a group of 15 people can dictate where the industry will go. And I feel like if there's more people with different mindsets na hindi lang galing Manila or Cebu or kahit galing kang Iloilo, you can still, may maambag ka pa din in terms of perspective. And I saw how we were going through 10-hour, hindi na pasok yun sa 8-hour work days. But 10-hour hearings for the Congress in terms of particular line, just to change that we can expand the seats to 5 to 10 representatives versus 5 from private sector. And those kind of like participation has lasting changes that you don't know because once it's passed and it's part of the law, it's there forever, and you can always go back to that. And I think it's not everyone's job. The creatives have to be creatives, the managers have to be managers, but I do think we need to acknowledge that there is a power there. As much as a vote has a power, the organizations also has a power. And I'm not sure if there are industry organizations that are lobbying for Congress. I'm being political now, but art and culture is political. And all of these things are unearthed by not just one person. And the challenge that I've been seeing is that I am running policy work. No one's doing creative policies here. It's such a new thing. And someone will come to me, paano yung food policy? Because I was talking in a conference then, sabi ko, hindi ko alam. Alam ko lang yung side ko. But then there's an opportunity to create an expertise out of that. So we are also not funded. I do have pro bono people who just want to give their time and their expertise and their experiences to build on what policies we can lobby. I think generosity of time can go a long way. And these laws that we have in place are similarly the starting laws that started the Korean wave in Korea, because that K-wave that we're seeing now is like legislation from 20 years ago. Tas ngayon lang natin siya nakikita. So if this kind of taboo thing of, again, the world is corrupt, we're pessimists in terms of participation, then nothing's gonna change because it's gonna be the same people on the table. So I do think the challenge is making people join the table and opening a seat and making them sit and giving voices to those who can contribute. So I do think that's like a critical challenge that I'm seeing. And once we overcome that, you're gonna see, oh, meron pala tayong in every region, we have a local cultural arts council that's not being maximized. And you only do that if someone's doing the work on policy. And I would say the funding also, these policy labs, I think it's something that people should look into and fund because research takes time. Research takes time. I'm currently going to do a PhD in the UK, and it's the UK that's funding me, not the Philippines. But my study is in the Philippines. So I think that kind of goes back to the funding that was being said earlier, because it's not a short-term band-aid solution that we're looking for, but kind of cementohan na natin yan. Let's close the gap and then make it a bit more sturdy, this house. So I guess those are the challenges on the business ecosystem, sustainability, and the industry at large. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. There's an invitation, actually, for a dialogue and for us to participate and engage. So I would also like to ask the other guests if this is something that they're considering, or maybe you've already been part of these conversations. Maybe you also want to share your insights about this or your experience. Oh, by the way, we were talking about PISIDA, right? So we're going to flash it on the screen for you to know more about it, for those who are not yet familiar with it.
Definitely, I think there is much to be gained and lessons learned in the course of engaging, especially with policymakers and yung mga policy administrators. For instance, yung organization ko, Concerned Artists of the Philippines, during the time when PCDA was still being discussed as a bill, it was also important to consult and to get the inputs of as many members and networks within the arts community as possible. Technology like Zoom made it quite facilitated a lot of things at that time. And from there, for instance, in terms of lobbying, we had an experience of crafting a policy critique and a response to the bill as it was drafted. Some of the items there and issues raised, alam ko sinubukan talagang i-integrate into the final version which was passed. And personally, I appreciated the effort of policymakers like the party lists. Ako yung naalala ko at the time, Kabataan Party List was also very active in supporting us talagang. So in the end, even if not everything that we wanted to put on the table was actually passed, you can see, okay, there are these areas na resulta to ng pakikipag-usap, pakikipagtulungan, tsaka really assertion of the voices that we are also able to connect to and bring that. So, yung na-appreciate ko about the conversation on creative industries and the creative economy is that it compels us to look at the numbers, the quantitative aspect of what we know as a very personal or creative act. Kasi, all of these are dimensions or aspects of the creative sphere in society. One cannot just ignore the numbers. Who are the people behind that? What are we earning? Is it sustainable? Naalala ko nung consultations on the PCDA back then, they were asking with different sectors, ilan kayo? So siguro, ayun. So even that was difficult to answer upfront because state of research on many things is still, iba-iba, no? So each will have a different figure of ilan ba talagang artist dito at doon. With the law, syempre, there are monitoring mechanisms and reports put in place. So I guess ang positive from there, you have data from that point on, of its passing, to base many more actions on. Yung talking about the economy, politics, and the economics of art and culture industry is very important. We are to really envision better working conditions and better conditions for creating that environment where the arts thrive. And I think lobbying really and research and following through, monitoring is very important. No? I think we're at this stage na rin of seeing what is being done and monitoring what the next steps are.
Thank you. So yun nga no, of course, ito ay isang magandang simulain, but we also have to be vigilant about the implementation and of course how we're gonna follow through with everything. Yes po, you wanted to say something, you were raising your hand?
Just 2 seconds. Yung PCDA, as early as the late 90s and early 2000, the heads of, I remember, CCP noon, they were already talking about the creatives industry, a bill. But then, hindi naman, walang I think it was only Angara who tried, the old man, who tried to do it. So, what I like to say is, I think if the creatives industry of the Philippines becomes an industry, I think it will not be from the top down. I think it will be from the down up. What I'm saying is, like Korea didn't start because of this K-wave, didn't start because there was a government. We were actually ahead of Korea when it comes to talking about creatives industry. This K-wave happened because of intense cutthroat competition among the broadcast agencies, the big broadcasts and the talent agencies. So it's competition, it's nurturing, giving the right environment for this competition that engenders an industry. not repression. You see? But actually, in the 70s, when the Philippines was repressed, doon nabuhay ang OPM, di ba? You know what I mean? So I think the creative Filipino will emerge, and even as an industry, from the bottom up, to the point na ang ginawa ng Korean government, from what I learned, is that they complemented. In other words, if you're shooting in different places of Korea, merong studios doon where you can shoot. Yung mga ganon, they created the environment instead of killing the environment. So this is the least that we can ask from our government officials, di ba? So, yun lang.
Thank you.
What you said also reminded me of how maybe if we also go back a bit to our yung history of cultural institutions that we have in our country, many of what is in the current landscape that we have today, yung institutions, whether government or private, they're the efforts of the artist and cultural community fighting for representation. So whether that's like in our case, 40-year organization that started as a movement against censorship, continuing today, nakailang. Yes po. So may ilang generations na of members, to cultural institutions like, I guess, the NCCA. Where did it start? During the post EDSA 1 era. Ang ganda-gandang balikan ng vision of what cultural representation meant. Kaya meron tayo nito ngayon. So I think yung parang it's, ano ba yung tamang metaphor? Passing, no, keeping the cycle of assertion going. That is, that's important as well.
Yeah, as for us, ambiguous mag-price ng creative work. Like, may ambiguity pa rin, like, how much should I actually sell a video? How much should I actually sell this poster? So I just feel like, if we talk support and what we can do, these things can further be regulated or standardized for brands to know what they're actually buying. What I always tell the brands that I work with is, if you bought a certain piece of media sa past agency mo for XXX price. Because the way we price things in Madman is like, how much are you supposed to earn and how much are you actually willing to invest in order for you to earn that much. So I feel like that's a good principle for young creatives to position their pricings at. Like, it's very important. Isa yun sa advocacies ko like, pay your creatives right and on time. So in order for that to happen, these creatives have to know how to actually do it. So if we open up those conversations more, especially for those who are not mas interested sa freelance work, sa independent work nila, we can protect them simply by educating them on how they can range their prices, how they can, set up infrastructures to ensure that they get paid well and on time. And at the end of the day, parang that's the ultimate goal naman for everyone, to build like a thriving and fair economy, both to the consumers and to the creatives.
Definitely, thank you. That will greatly empower the young creatives if they know that. Yes, Gab?
I don't think we have enough time for all the problems of the music industry. Yeah, but I guess I'll focus on one. I think livelihood is the biggest challenge kasi it's no secret naman that the payment for a mainstream artist is way different dun sa bayad ng isang indie artist na naggumigig sa bar ng 3 sets, 1 hour each set. It's really, really far. There's actually a study na lumabas na the monthly income of performing artists is, I think, less than 20,000 pesos. I think it's significantly less pa nga for some, especially mga umaasa lang sa prod gigs. So I think being able to sustain this as a profession, especially if you don't have the necessary support system, is a big challenge. Kaya a lot of yung mga mapapansin yung artists are also doing other work. May corpo jobs, freelancers, mga ganun. There is no one single solution to addressing that one. factorial yun. You definitely need the public sector to provide yung policies to encourage yung pursuing music as performing music as a profession. You also need policies definitely to protect yung honorarium, yung payment of artists, kasi the reality is yung TF nagiging TY in some cases. Partly kasalanan rin namin kasi we would do this for free because as indie artists, but at the same time it kind of gets exploited rin. At the same time, from a consumer standpoint, I do hope now we could have an increase in terms of consuming Filipino music. Kasi I think the data right now is 70-30, meaning 70% it's foreign consumption, 30% is local consumption. Makikita rin yun sa mga charts eh. If you see yung top 10, I like K-pop Demon Hunters, pero I would have preferred a 50-50 split on local na nandun sa top 10 and yung foreign. So yung from a consumer standpoint, yung basic thing to do is maybe try to consume more Filipino music, and hindi na excuse yung hindi maganda or jologs ang I actually take a lot of offense dun sa jologs ang Filipino music. That's not fair. Tapos at the same time private sector, I think yung could support in the small sa isang bagay would be like how brands could utilize Filipino music in events, in programs. I think the percentage of local consumption sa mga on-ground events, if I'm not mistaken, is around less than 20% pa nga eh. Parang mas foreign music pa nga ginagamit for on-ground events. I can understand multinational brands having to follow a certain policy. Pero syempre, sa ganung maliit na bagay, syempre yung we could do more by yung utilizing and consuming more Filipino music. Of course, this is a very oversimplified yung explanation, pero just to generalize it, yun siya. So it's both, there really has to be yung both a public and a private effort to really elevate not just I think Philippine music industry, but yung creative industries as a whole.
Thank you, Gab. And maybe the performing arts people can also relate to that. And would you also like to share that?
Yeah. Okay, so medyo madayo yung sa akin kasi I will mention one problem pero i-branch out ko siya. The main problem, I think, is taking care of the artist. I think, and it branches out several ways. Sinulat ko na para hindi siya masyado mahaba. Number one is, of course, available training. Academia curriculum being changed to include a more entrepreneurial approach, like here in Benilde. I think mas entrepreneurial yung approach kasi ng mga courses here. So students are not just trained creatively, but they're also armed on how to, earn money out of it or making it into something profitable in a good way. No? So I think have to have more of that. Labor is very important, which means standardization of contracts, formation of guilds, insurances. I think the theater industry, the practitioners will not be well taken care of if that doesn't happen. So labor is very important, and policies, laws need to be able to make sure that that's supported. Funding for mobility, exchanges, that's very important as well, not just internationally but also regionally. No, especially when you can tour the productions that you do, not just from Manila to the regions, but also the regions to Manila as well and other places. I think yung case sinasabi kanina, I think important sa emerging mga artists yung rapid seed grants. Because most of the grants, when you apply, daming requirements, and mostly it's the bigger theaters, bigger organizations, well-established ones, credible, accredited ones are the ones who get it. But we have to take care of these small, emerging artists, give them a platform. So rapid seed grants, yung mabilis, na makakatulong sa kanila. Intellectual property is still a problem because not everybody is aware of it, and nobody wants to enforce it properly. No? Wala pang enough mechanisms para ma-enforce yun. And I think that's very important because I think ang pinaka-linchpin also ng creative industry is that you can make money out of your ideas, manifestations of your ideas. And if ideas are not taken care of, then we have a really, really big problem. First and foremost, also data. because there's no state of the Philippine theater report at all. There's no data mapping everything from production, sales, audience. There's no follow-up. There's not even a list of employment, wages, things like that. And that's something that database is very important. But I think as a Filipino creative, the most important thing that you need to do to take care of the artist, the Filipino artist, is to encourage the colonization of practice. When you think about theater, it's easy to think about the commercial ventures, the money-making ventures. And that's okay. That helps with the creative economy. But it doesn't mean that the community-based practices, the ones that spring from our very own culture, is not capable of sustaining their livelihoods, because it is capable of generating jobs. They just need to stop thinking about what theater can be from the Western point of view and just imagine how, from their community, they can create something that people can watch, use to tell their stories. And that, I think, would be very beautiful for the Philippine creative industry if you can encourage people to discover what they have in their own spaces and be able to use that to tell stories. And that, I think, is what the theaters in the Philippines would become. And that's how it can help in the creative economy.
Thank you, Eric. I agree. Decolonize, unionize. Yes.
Well, listening to everyone, I think one of the problems really is a lack of policy making. Because when you have some policy making, then you can identify like proper sources of funding, audiences, which are the priorities, what do you have to develop, what is already developed, and how do you support it? Because there are different levels of development, I think, across all industries, and you have to be able to support that at different levels. For example, in the visual arts, there's so much emphasis on the market. So anybody that wants to support the visual arts will have to rely on the market to support other visual artists. Whereas in other countries, you have like different funding mechanisms that are able to support people within the ecosystem. So let's say artists who work at the regions, at the community level, because there's no sense of a market yet there, right? Or like, let's say, artists who are very active in the NCR region, wherein there's more of a market, but there are also artists who have the capacity and the audience already to go abroad. And they're noticed, but sometimes there are no way, there are lack of systems also to support them. So me, I always think, I don't know if you would agree, that it's because of a lack of policy. That's what it always redounds to, because we can talk and talk and talk and like really, but it's like almost like we're beating a dead horse, diba? Because it's the same thing, we've been talking about this for like the last 10 years. So for me, in that sense, going back to the first question, now that we finally have the Creative Industries Act, for me, it's really a good thing. It's a yes, because maybe it's imperfect, but at the same time, it gives us the opportunity to maybe have a clearer direction moving forward if people in power have the right intentions. Yeah.
Can I just add to that quickly? Dindin mentions a lack of policy. I will just add that we need people to make that policy. So far, it's just been elected people in government. And there's a sense that we don't trust them. That we don't trust them, right? So you don't want to engage. But we're not going to move forward if there aren't people from your industry, our industry, who will step up to become policymakers. Because we know the industry best. And that is sorely lacking at this point in time. We cannot move forward. We're not gonna, for the next 10 years, we're gonna have the same conversation if not one of us will, give back that way. Because it's a long and arduous process. Getting that bill passed, it was like, I don't know how many of you were at those hearings where they were, for every sector, one hearing was 10 to 15 hours long. inubos yung time allocation ng Zoom. Diba? Parang that's how long each hearing was. And so, and then afterwards, well, Congressman De Venecia is no longer in Congress. But our experience kasi was with him was we were in his core group when he was doing the act. So there was really a lack of people willing to, sit down and fight it out. Because really, from all walks of life and different points of view, you really have to sit down and bare bones. It's really, fight is the word to get your policies across, to get your points of view across. And that's what you need to do in the short run. Diba? And then just a short thing after, just to add to Eric's about intellectual property. It's not so much also enforcing intellectual property, but having come from DTI also, it's that a lot of the creatives don't even apply for their intellectual property. So our IP registration, there's a quota parang every year for the IPO to say, parang it's very low because as creatives ourselves, we don't register. So how can you enforce if it's not even registered in the first place? And and at the end of the day, the strength of your creative economy, and again speaking towards data, the strength of your creative economy is measured in intellectual property. That is the currency. So as creatives, if we do not deposit into that bank, we will not reap the rewards. There will not be data also and funding policy to support that because we did not acknowledge and register in the first place.
Okay, so you need to register. Yes, Dexter.
I'm just guilty. I'm just very guilty. For me, kasi, and specifically for us, it really is going back to what I've learned working for gaming. It's really grind culture for us. I'm so sorry. We want to be in legislation. We want to be on those conversations and all that. But for us, at least, the real battle for us is really in the woods with our students, with our mentors, with our kids. Sorry when I say kids because there's like so much younger than me now. But yeah, I'm guilty of that, and we want to be there. But for us, we push our agenda forward because we want to tell people that, hey, you gotta look at the Philippines, and you gotta, and we are very risky. What we do in Tier 1 is very risky all the time, and we get a lot of, pardon me, we get a lot of hate, and we get a lot of like, weird naman yan, or ganon. But for us, one thing I wanna teach new creatives is fail fast, learn faster. And I think that should inspire. Yeah, like if you fail, basta fail super duper fast and pick up again and go work, and grind culture is important. It might not apply to a lot of people here, but for us gamers, weird for me. Graphic artist, walang graphic artist dati. Gamer, walang patutunguhan yung mga gamers ngayon. Like walang career yung gaming. But where we are now, it's because we pushed our agenda forward. We pushed it so hard. We believed in the grind culture. We worked together. And if we fail, sige lang, bawi na lang. Tara, tuloy pa rin. So I think it's just pushing those creatives na just really pick up. And last but not the least, for me as a creative getting into the revenue aspect, really for the creatives now to really listen first. Because the problem is, do you have an account manager in between who's not creative and it's all about the sale, right? And so when I say with Tier 1, they put me in the forefront of revenue because I'm a creative talking to a brand that wants something creative to be done, and I manage it in between. And so my advice to a lot of creatives and the challenge is, guys, sometimes you really have to listen to your client. But also, sometimes, if you know you're going to work, you got to gain their trust as a brand and test it out with them. again, babalik tayo. Fail super duper fast, bawi na lang next time. So that's it for me.
I'll add lang super quickly. And to what you said, not just, I guess, tier one, but the entire gaming industry, they've really pushed for themselves. So when you look at the data across DTI, that industry, amongst all in the creative industry, that is the most ready for export. That is the most ready to scale. And that's because the principals themselves have built it that way. So, and they've really pushed and fought for it.
Naiiyak ako, ba't nga? Sige, thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. Siguro, since you've already started with words of encouragement for the younger creatives, siguro just a one-sentence nugget of wisdom, piece of advice for the younger creatives who are watching today. Siguro mabilis lang since we can do it kay John naman, paikot hanggang kay Marvin.
Tap out na ako.
Ayan. Since nagbigay na po kayo ng advice.
Advice, right?
Yeah, advice, pwedeng words of encouragement, pwedeng practical tips.
Okay. It's a young man's game. So they can keep, and well, I have to follow through with it. It's a young man's game, and you know, in this, I just feel like youth is something that you hold on to. It's not dictated by how old you actually are. It's how you hold on to that youth, and so long as you can hold on to it, it's your game to win.
Thank you.
Quick lang, borrow ko na lang din yung fail fast, pero fail forward. Fail forward and keep showing up.
Ako, well, one is never stop learning. Always have the mindset of a student. And number two, there's nothing wrong with collaborating. Learn to collaborate rin.
Number one, I guess, is to know your rights and protect your work. Don't wait for the perfect condition because there's no such thing. Build your community, but don't just design the system that will sustain your creativity. Because I think at the end of the day, when you talk about creative industry, it's not just about the creations or the creativity, it's also about the infrastructure to support it.
Yeah, I think when thinking about the creative economy, it's important to think about the CO in it, the collaboration, and the fact that it's an ecosystem. You're not going to do this by yourself, kiddo. So lean in and find support and find people unlike you as much as they are like you.
For me, it really boils, because we're creatives, it really comes down to the people. So it's really about not forgetting about them, the value of labor, especially, I guess, in a lot of handicraft skills, for example. A lot of times, the least value goes to the makers. So it's about being the person to connect that value back to them, back to everyone else. And so here, one more thing that I'm really, really passionate about is really sharing of resources. Like, just be open to being able to share what you know, what other people know, and not be scared to think of it as your industry secrets, because we cannot grow. You cannot grow as an industry if you do not share, like, maybe where your suppliers come from, where your materials come from. It just parang sayang eh. If you are a creative, you'll know something to do about those resources, even if you have the same resources. So don't be selfish.
I suppose, to me, find somebody that you can collaborate with who thinks strategically. Yeah, because I mean, now that it's no longer a community, because the movement or the thinking within a community is different when you are thinking about industry. I think so. Maybe just be clear about community and industry and where you are, and find the people that can help you shape your, I guess, your idea or your practice. Yeah.
I think it would be learn AI, Don't be afraid of AI. Learn to use it with integrity. In the way that the internet was the defining technology for our generation, AI will disrupt everything. And the winner will be those who are going to know how to harness it, how to use it as a tool. I believe that creatives, because of the way we think, are going to be the best prompt engineers. Because, given experience, given what you're exposed to, you have the best facility. You'll be able to do it best. So the world is your oyster, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think for me, there's value in your own stories, in your own narratives, in your own lens. Talking about AI and prompting, I think being able to prompt from your own stories, I think that speaks about originality as well as uniqueness. And also, I think this is a personal parang quote, mantra of mine. For business kasi it's always find your niche. Mine is your niche will eventually find you. And I think you just have to build on that, build on yourself and your own stories.
When we were, one afternoon when we were thinking of the diarist, hindi namin alam magkakaroon diarist, sinabi lang namin, let's answer, we know what we want. We know what we want to do, and we know why we're doing it, and we know whom we're doing it for. That's all. And that's how the diarist.ph was born. In short, it's knowing what you want, what you love. It's knowing how you want to do it. And who are you talking to? Who are you doing it for? Yun lang.
Thank you.
Maybe just briefly, and I just remember talking to my 9-year-old last night, tapos sabi ko lang parang, that feeling will pass. So I think it's kind of like just having faith in what you do, in the work that you do. Have faith in people. If they're good people, you will know naman. So okay yun. Just find your people, and yun.
Salamat.
Siguro advice ko for students and young creatives, no, is of course kung meron kang talent and may skill, and especially for the students na talagang very passionate sila sa kanilang art, sa kanilang creativity, also understand the legal side and the business side of it. And I also want to challenge the schools, no, na offering all these academic programs or courses na i-embed natin yung intellectual property and entrepreneurship ng konti, and contracts ng konti. Kasi since ito na nga creative economy na ang papupuntahan ng mga graduates natin, dagdagan natin ng tools. And for the students naman, available naman itong mga resources na ito. You can look them up as well. They're available online. Magaling naman silang mag-hack, yung mga kabataan ngayon, no? Pag hindi nila alam, hahanapin nila yan, and they'll DIY, yung mga ganyan. But there are also institutions or offices like our offices, the Center for Intellectual Property Management, wherein yun talaga yung trabaho namin. We support students, we help them understand IP. We also really work with the academics na, sige na, ipasok niyo yung IP dyan sa usapan na yan. In fact, many of my students told me, Miss, dapat Miss, inaral namin to. Kasi Miss, dahil dito sa subject na to or sa topic na to ng IP, now we understand how we can protect our rights. No? Especially kasi a lot of creative work is a collaboration. Madami kayong nagtatrabaho together. So kung hindi nila naintindihan yung ownership pag marami kayo, how important it is to come up with a simple written agreement, knowing anong klaseng IP yung mag-a-apply dyan, copyright ba yan, trademark ba yan, industrial design ba yan. So, kung alam nila yon, meron silang konting confidence when they go out there in the real world. At least they can say, I want to protect what I really created, no? Sabi nga ni Miss Telma, find your space. Be an expert. Keep practicing. Tama yon. And sana madagdagan pa yon na yung expertise mo, dagdagan mo rin ng tools, legal tools, business tools. Kasi talagang ngayon, hindi ka lang artist, kailangan marunong ka na rin sa pag-negotiate ng art mo, ng creativity mo eh. Diba? Like what Esme mentioned. So, for the students, I advise them, mag-aral, magtanong, and don't be scared to go to your school administrators and ask, hey, can I get help for this? Maraming mga services na libre ninyong ma-avail. And like for our office, we're very open to students, even to alumni, and even to non-Benildians who really want to, learn about IP. Kasi ang sa amin naman, the more champions there will be, mas makaka-benefit naman tayong lahat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Learn our history, know your rights, and dare to take risks. Informed risks, but risks nonetheless, especially for things that matter. It's important to build that critical and creative toolkit with everything we have around us. Yung kapwa natin, the technology that's available, and the rich experience of the communities around us. And that will all serve as important things to arm you when you take risks. So do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
For me, just two things. I think the first one is, I think now is the perfect time to get rid of that fear and that doubt. I think now is the best time to put the other foot in terms of like pursuing the career and pursuing what you want to do. I think now is the best time to just not doubt yourself when you're wanting to enter this career path. And the second thing is that in order for you to support that and to assure yourself from that fear is that I suggest that you obsess on what you're doing. Obsess on every little thing. When you wanna, especially in performing arts, when you wanna dance, you wanna act, you wanna sing. When you wanna do this, obsess on every little detail. Because all of this, you'll have doubts with like, yung fear mo of like, will I make it? Will I sustain myself? Will I able to provide for myself in the future? All of this will be left on the side, and you'll be able to assure yourself when you obsess on it. Because one thing that will never fail you is your talent and your passion for it. Like a lot of people are talented, a lot of people are doing this, but the most passionate ones are the ones who keep going, keep going. As they say, when something fails, you get up again and you keep going, you keep going. You obsess on every little thing. You go outside, you meet people. All of it is part of your obsession. When I tell my students all the time, I love watching dance more than I love dancing. Especially now. Now I mean, medyo bata pa ako pero sinasabi ko na mas gusto kong gumagawa ng sayaw and nanonood ng sayaw. Kasi, I don't know, iba yung light up ng mata ko when I do it than me actually being there on the spotlight and dancing. I think, I don't know, it's a different passion for me. So I think that side of obsession is what gave me that support to actually pursue it. So just two things of like getting your other foot in and for you to not fail and to not fall. Just obsess on what you want to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
For me, I wanted to connect with knowing your rights. As early as now, know your rights. And also, don't encourage bad practices. We have lots of bad practices right now, and we're trying to correct them. But you, as young creatives, if you see parang may nakikita kayong mga bad practices, as much as possible, don't embody them. Don't practice them if you can. And if you can correct them I know it's hard because they're older than you, but if you can, correct them. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Cycle breakers daw ang younger generation. So that's very good.
So I think for me it's three things. So first, I think just learn the art of deal making. So be it with bosses, you can say yes and no to partners. You can say yes and no to a pull out or an article or parang mali yan. I think speaking out and then knowing what you want coming into a room is important because you know your boundaries in terms of deal making. The second one, I would say we are living in the age of AI. I'm currently working now on AI governance in the creative intellectual property space. Is not be scared of it. Make it your friend. Because the more that you're curious, the more that you're open to these new things, hindi ka may iwan ever. Ever. So always be open, always learn in terms of this state of this AI era. It's never gonna go away. It's like electricity, andyan na siya. And I think thirdly, just to round it out, I would say the humanity factor is what will keep the creative industry alive and your creative practice alive. So never take that away. I'm pretty sure there are, I was teaching fashion marketing in the College of Business of LaSalle, and I did encourage them to use AI. Show me your ideas through that, and then defend it. And your critical and creative thinking goes beyond what you put in, but it's actually how you state your why and why it needs to be out there. And I think that's the most critical thing, rather than the best tools, the best AI tools, or at the very least, like best paint brushes, right? So I would say find your humanity in this whole technology race, especially that the creative industries are being challenged by this tech data scraping online, nakakopy lang si Studio Ghibli, right? So put the humanity in, because people do not subscribe to the product itself. It actually subscribes to brands and the values of the people behind these brands. So keep that humanity intact and know how to talk to people, I think is, at the end of the day, the most important thing.
Thank you. I'm sure that's comforting for the young creatives because it will somehow diminish their fears and doubts about AI. Thank you so much for all the tips and advice. I'm sure the young creatives are taking down notes. And also, bigyan naman natin ng masigabong palakpakan ang bawat isa. Thank you so much for joining us today and keeping the conversation alive. And for the young creatives, maraming salamat din for being with us today. We've heard so many insights from stories and challenges to the exciting changes in different creative industries or fields, and also the value of community and support. So what's the big takeaway? Yes, there are challenges, definitely, hindi mawawala yan, but there are also many opportunities. That's why we're so excited, and that's why we're also optimistic about the future. And also, creativity today is not just about passion. It's about building something sustainable and innovative that can shape the future, that can actually shape our society. Kaya muli, maraming salamat sa ating mga guests at sa inyong mga nanonood. So let's keep on talking, collaborating, and creating together. I'm Julia Enriquez, your host and moderator, and on behalf of Benilde HIFI, thank you for joining us. Kita-kits ulit sa susunod. Keep creating.